if I get booted or something like that, uh, I'll get back on as soon as I can, and hopefully you can take the read.
Okay.
But I'm
I
not
will
anticipating
I'll
problems.
probably do my best to tread water while we wait for you.
Okay. I'm not anticipating problems, but you never know when you're on a different machine. All right.
I
So,
never know when I'm on the same machine I've been on for 3 years.
well, that's true. That's true. All right. So 7:01. I'm gonna go ahead and I need to share my screen. So Judy, you should have access as well as, yeah, you're good. Okay.
Melissa, do we have a quorum yet?
Yeah, I was just counting. I don't know if we do.
I don't think Matt's on yet, right?
No, Matt, I did not let Matt in. Oh, here he comes. So we got a lot of people. So we've got Jim, Ted, Matt, and myself right now. So that is a quorum. You're here, right, Matt? Yeah, there you are. Okay. Okay. All right, I'm going to call the meeting to order and go ahead and read this preamble. So this is the December 17th, 2024 open meeting of the Hopkinton Conservation Commission being conducted remotely consistent with an act extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. The new law authorizes all members of the public body to continue participating in meetings remotely. The open meeting law's requirement that a quorum of the body and the chair be physically present at the meeting location remains suspended. For this meeting, the Hopkinton Conservation Commission is convening by video conference via Zoom app as posted on the town's web meeting calendar and the Conservation Commission agenda identifying how the public may join. Additionally, the meeting may also be broadcast by HCAM through one or many of its channels or platforms. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that others may be able to see you and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Supporting materials that have been provided to the members of the commission for this meeting are available on the town's website. This meeting will feature public comment. After commission members and staff have discussed each project application on the agenda, the chair will open the discussion to public comment. Members of the public who wish to speak are asked to identify their name and address. 3 minutes will be afforded for each public comment. Each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted via roll call of the members. So I will now confirm which commission members are present. Ed is running late, we believe, not present. Janine is absent, running late. Heather's absent. Jim,
Here.
Ted,
Ted is present.
Matt,
Present.
and myself, Melissa. I'll now confirm staff that are present. Judy,
Present.
Anna,
Present.
and Joe.
Present.
All right. So we are all set with that. So we have a number of things that are no longer on the agenda, were continued. For anyone here for D'Angelo 12 Maple Street Extension, that has requested a continuance to January 28th, 2025. Hopkinton Stone and Garden at 28 Lumber Street has also been continued to January 28th, 2025. And the 132 Clinton Street amended notice of intent application was requested continuation to March 11th, 2025. So with that being said, we don't have any documents for review. We do have draft minutes from September 24th, 2024. Has anyone on the commission not had time to review these and or have any comments on those minutes?
Jim's all set with that.
All set. All right, that being said, can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second Jim's motion.
Great. Then I'll take a roll call. Jim,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
and I am also an aye. Great. All right, next on the agenda, we have Wall Street Development, 12 North Mill Street, informal discussion. Mr. Petrosi, are you on the line to discuss this one?
Well, I'd like to forego that discussion, informal discussion, because I haven't completed my information that I want to submit to the commission. So I'd like to put that off until the next meeting in January,
Okay,
if that's all right with the commission.
sure, we can do that.
Thank you.
Then we will go to the next item, which is you again, 10 Leonard Street,
Beautiful.
12 Leonard Street, discussion of fees for certificate of compliance applications. What do you have for us?
Well, it's not what I have for you. We have, I think you completed the process for the certificate of compliance at 8 Leonard Street.
Mm-hmm.
And I submitted a fee for there's 2 remaining, 10 and 12. I simply requested that the peer reviewer, or when the inspection is done, that he inspect both properties at the same time, since they're only 30 feet apart,
Mm-hmm.
and not be billed for twice what presumably would just be a simple visit for maybe less than an hour to walk the site and so on and so forth. So we're charging it's about $480 filing fee, and for each lot, I think that's that's quite a bit of money, $1,000 to walk the 2 lots and pretty much observe nothing.
Yep, I think we've had this discussion before, and our standard policy for all applicants is to provide the fee, and then our inspectors will try and be as diligent as possible and coordinate. Of course, I'm sure they would like to make one trip as well. So whatever is not used, they certainly bill, just for the time that's spent out there. So you'll get credited back whatever is not used for the review. So
what is not used from 8 Leonard Street?
I do not know off the top of my head.
That's kind of what I'm trying to. You're asking me to pay in advance for something that may not take less than an hour. So
Correct. That's our standard procedure. So
okay, well,
all right.
yes.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Mr. Petrosi, I have tomorrow off, but on Thursday, I'm happy to go through the Lucas bills and get a final tally on 8 Leonard and let you know the difference to pay that balance, if that would be helpful.
For me to pay the balance? You mean
No,
accrue
so
the balance.
whatever's left over from
Okay.
8, transfer over and then let you know that difference, if that would
Okay.
be helpful.
That would be very helpful.
Absolutely.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
I appreciate it.
Okay. Anything else on that one? We all set? Mr. Petrosi?
Yeah, I think so. I just wanted someone to go out there and do it before it snowed. That's all.
Okay, yep, just go ahead and submit the fee and then we'll get them out there.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, 7:10. So next up we have Heritage Properties, the Trails at Legacy Farms, request for additional units to be released from the cease and desist.
Through the chair.
Yes.
I'm not sure that Peter Bemis is on the meeting quite yet. If he has not arrived yet, he did ask that he be heard after the public hearings.
Okay, that's fine. We can skip over those for now. Judy, can you scroll down a little bit? Do we have anything after 6 on the work session? So I assume that would be the same for number 6. We'd skip that until Mr. Bemis arrives. So we have Toll Brothers, Elmwood Farm, Newberry Glen, notice of violation discussion. Do we have Ted Merchant or someone representing Toll Brothers on the call?
Hi, I'm Rich Kirby from LEC Environmental, and I believe Ted Merchant is also on the line.
Okay.
I'm here too.
Oh,
Okay.
great. There you are, Ted. So can I share my screen to share a brief presentation that I emailed to Judy just a few minutes ago?
Yep, you should be able to share.
Okay, great. So Toll Brothers received a notice of violation on December 13th following a pretty significant rain event. This is the Newberry Glen project. It's a residential subdivision that's currently under construction. Here's Blueberry Lane north, as you can just see the corner of the north arrow pointing in this direction. We have Fitch Avenue, which is currently under construction. A good portion of it is paved, and we have Myrtle Avenue, which is it just has the gravel aggregate beneath it. The notice of violation, again, was dated December 13th, and it goes through some observations made by a commission member, namely sedimentation onto the Fitch Avenue, the interior subdivision roadway, which made its way onto Blueberry Lane into the stormwater infrastructure and through down gradient stormwater basins. Since then, Toll Brothers and Ted Merchant, myself, and the contractor from Fenton and Son met on site today, this afternoon, as soon as I heard about this, and got out to the site. Cleanup efforts have been underway. Sediment was removed from Fitch Avenue and Blueberry Lane, and the contractor swept the pavement. The catch basin inlet protection was replaced and cleaned out along Fitch Avenue and Blueberry Lane. And, you know, basically they did their best to clean it up. You can see this bottom photo here. The pavement's pretty clean at this point. This catch basin, which is really the low point that received the lion's share of sediment, has all been replaced and cleaned out, and all the sediment around it has been cleaned out. So we put our heads together and talked about what we could do, over the next, as soon as possible, really. And Ted made some calls and called in some favors, and fortunately we're able to get on this right away. So S&M Farms is going to be installing compost sock and silt fence along roughly the northern half of both sides of Fitch Avenue. That's happening tomorrow. And the whole point of that is to really limit the sediment transport from the open areas of the site onto the pavement, where it will then be directed to these catch basins. We're going to reestablish a stormwater diversion swale with check dams and direct more surface runoff to the temporary basin as it was intended. Additional catch basin inlet protection along Blueberry Lane. Ultimately, we'd like to install bituminous curbing along portions of Fitch Avenue. That potentially will happen this Friday, but it depends on weather, and a lot of the workers at the pavement plant are laid off for the winter, but the contractor is going to see if he can't get a crew together to get the curbs in. We're also looking to install stabilized construction entrances at each lot to limit sediment transport onto the pavement from construction vehicles. It's more of a long-term thing. We're trying to get that done before the end of the year. We're now going to implement weekly street sweeping. All pavement will be swept, and we'll do an additional sweep in anticipation of a rain event greater than a 1/4 inch. And then lastly, we're going to install a flock log at the final basin. So this 4th page includes a sketch of what we intend to do over starting tomorrow through the end of this week and the end of the year. While the lion's share of the issue was down here at the northern end, We were told that there was some sedimentation observed at this end of Blueberry Lane as well. There is a down gradient catch basin that currently does not have protection, so we're going to install inlet protection here. This is a note indicating the street sweeping, which will occur on a weekly basis, and of course, before a rain event greater than a 1/4 inch within 24 hours. These green lines represent where we're going to install the compost sock and entrenched silt fence on either side of Fitch Avenue. And we'll, of course, have stabilized construction entrances for each lot. Ultimately, the goal is to have the siltation fence and compost sock block off entrances to the properties with the exception of the construction entrance. So vehicles are forced to utilize that stabilized construction entrance to limit sediment tracking onto the street. And we're also going to, like I said, reestablish this temporary diversion swale, which will direct water to this existing temporary basin. As commission members may be aware, there's already a gravel swale along the perimeter of the property here that flows into this catch basin right here at this corner. And then there's another perimeter drain installed over on this side and over here as well, I believe. So we've got multiple redundancies on deck to protect the adjacent pavement and down gradient resource areas to minimize the chances of this happening again. So wanted to share that with the commission, solicit any feedback or other ideas that the commission members may have. And with that, I'll turn it back to the chair.
Thank you. Thanks for jumping on this, and I appreciate the level of detail here. Looking at the site, I think that, in my opinion, and based on what we know about the area and what I saw out there, the sediment is so fine that gets carried away in the stormwater from the site that the catch basin inlets really don't filter a lot of it out. It just kind of goes right through. So I think that your diversion swales with the check dams and keeping that as much on site as you can with the curbing and whatnot is going to be really key in this plan, based on what I saw, construction entrances, and like you said, just trying to keep it on site so it can have time to settle out and not get into the towns. I know there was a lot of sediment probably accumulating over in that basin across the street that you guys were just working on, so we don't want to fill that guy back up. But yeah, I'll open it up to the other commission members if anyone has thoughts or questions on what happened out here and what the plan is going forward.
Melissa, this is Ted.
Yes.
Looking through the photos, what caught my eye even more than the clear evidence of sediment getting places it shouldn't be is the vast amount of clear cutting without any straw thrown down, without any mulch thrown down. It seems like exactly what led to our problems on Chamberlain Wayland with Toll Brothers. But I haven't walked the site. You did, Melissa, when you went out there for photos. Do you have thoughts on how much has been cleared without any stabilization of all that sediment?
Yeah, so I mean, the whole site is pretty much cleared. And you're right, Ted, it's just, and I guess it goes back to what I said, that the sediment that's on there, like preventing it from getting into the stormwater is going to be the best thing I think you can do, because once it's in the water, the sediment is so fine. So anything falling on that dirt surface is just going to immediately, have a ton of suspended sediment in it, because it's such a big area.
But I guess my question is that has there been anything done to try to put a buffer between the dirt and the rain that's falling, or is it just exposed dirt for acres and acres?
So a good portion of the site has been cleared and grubbed as they anticipate rough grading and getting the foundations in. There are portions of the site, and Ted, correct me if I'm wrong here, but that have been cleared of vegetation but haven't been grubbed yet. So there's still sort of the ground cover duff in place to minimize runoff from those areas.
Yeah, so that was going to be my point, Rich, was, the first 6 lots. As we come in, we have started to grade, and I think a lot of the pictures that you saw reflected those 6 lots. But as you get further into the site, past, call it the green line that's there, we haven't stripped the majority of that area outside of the right of way. And I think the runoff in general from those areas is pretty minimal. For that reason, we've started construction or started digging the first foundation on the first 6 and plan to start the next, the remaining 5 here very shortly. So that's why those guys are cleared. But the remaining ones, we haven't started full earthwork yet. And the goal is that once we get them temporarily graded, stripped and temporarily graded, there would be seed and straw placed down on them until such a time as we started construction on the home itself.
And
So
I would, oh, go ahead, Ted, sorry.
For how long has there been just exposed dirt waiting for the foundations to go in? Has it been a week? Has it been a month?
They've been actively being worked on for, it's been a while off and on. I couldn't put a time frame on it, but they were on them less than 2 weeks ago, grading them up.
Okay.
I think it's just been lucky dry, so it hasn't been an issue. But I would
That's
agree
part of
with
it as well.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It definitely seemed like it was the first six or so lots. That's where it was concentrated.
Right. And this
Yeah.
portion of Fitch Avenue has a pretty good slope to it as well. Once you round the corner here, it flattens out pretty significantly.
I think you have
So
a couple temporary basins in the middle too there, at least one that was capturing, or maybe it was just a foundation that happened to be acting as a,
it might have been a foundation.
yeah.
I don't think they've done the temporary basins up here yet because the land hasn't been totally stripped and grubbed.
Okay. But yeah, good. Like you said, Ted, definitely gonna want to stabilize as we move along and not completely grub the sites until you really need to.
Yeah, that's the goal, is to get them, once we get on them to grade them, get them to this, we'll call it a temporary grade. We try to balance the lot, right? So that we're not moving a significant amount of dirt from one to the other. And once that's done, we would stabilize it again until such time as we dug the home.
Mm-hmm. Anna or Judy, do you have any additional comments or thoughts? Or Joe?
The chair, just a quick question. How confident are you guys that the temp basin can hold the additional runoff that's going to be diverted to it? Just because it looked pretty full on Friday when, that runoff wasn't being sent there.
Right. We talked a little bit about that today and it does not, so this temporary basin has an emergency overflow that discharges to the gravel perimeter swale. And the gravel perimeter swale has a fair amount of leaves in it. It's been there for a while. And we would have expected to see, sediment deposition or evidence of flow overtopping that emergency spillway and depositing sediment onto the gravel along that perimeter drain. We didn't see any evidence of that. It appears as though that this basin held the water sufficiently, and it was pretty low. Even the day that after the storm, there was still a fair amount of room over the existing water level. That said, we did talk with the contractor about berming up along the edge here, just to make sure if water was to overflow that it wouldn't back up and go around. So we would add a berm here to make sure that held the water. But there's a fair amount of redundancy with that gravel perimeter drain, and if it appears as though we're getting close to being full, I think we had talked with Ted about maybe putting in some stone check dams in that perimeter drain, just to slow the water down as it makes its way to the culvert. But that's a good point.
Through the chair.
Yes, Anna.
What status is the basin across Blueberry Lane there with your improvements? Judy and I saw kind of flow through the outlet, but then there's a corrugated pipe that water was coming back towards the basin out of. So it
Yeah,
seemed a little odd.
We noticed the same thing today. That looks like pressure coming back and sort of broke up some of the parging that was around that pipe. So we need to get back in there and reparge that. It's more of a construction defect than a issue. Like it was complete at one point, but we obviously need to get back in there and repair it.
Thank you. And is that that outlet, is that the level? Because those basins don't seem to hold very much, so it looks like they discharge pretty quick.
Yeah, the outlet control structure is in place in its final condition.
Okay, thank you.
And we had talked about potentially blocking the lowest orifice to give the basin some more capacity if that came down to it. I think we ended up not going in that direction today, but it's another tool in the toolbox if we need to.
We can have the equipment on standby at the site to block that. I think it's a 12-inch orifice if if it's looking like we need to.
Yeah, just thinking out loud, it might be worth having that equipment on site and maybe some extra flock logs, so you're not just putting them, they might work better in the basin.
Yeah, we talked with Hydrograss Technologies, or Ted did today, and Ted, maybe you can shine some light on what they said. But my understanding is that the flocculant needs time to be in the water for that sediment to drop out. It doesn't hit the flock log and then drop out instantly. It takes some time to flow. And I think, Ted, was it on the order of hundreds of feet that they were talking about?
It was. So I did have that conversation with Hydrograss and I was trying to keep all of the sediment that would get flocculated within the forebay of that basin so that we weren't having to muck out the entire basin if it came down to it. And really it needed more time than from the inlet into the basin to the end of the forebay to be able to do its magic. So the discussion was, let's put them higher up onto our site so that it had time to congeal and drop out before it got out of the forebay.
Okay.
Through the chair,
Yes, Matt.
do we have calculations on the sizing of these temporary basins from the contractor or the engineer to ensure that they're sized adequately for the area that's discharging to them? Because the NIPD's permit has very specific sizing requirements.
Yeah, I mean, I
And
know
we're
that.
if we're going to be redirecting additional flows there, which is a good thing. The strategy that's proposed is a really good strategy, but we want to make sure that those basins are sized to handle those flows.
I'll go through that, Matt, with Bowler, but I believe the answer is yes. But I'll follow up with them.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ted.
Okay. Does anyone else on the commission have any questions, comments, or anyone from the public? Just looking for hands. Okay. So at this point in time, I think it sounds like you have a good plan. If you could check in with Bowler, get those calcs, and just keep Judy and Anna updated on your work as it progresses over the next couple days. so they can check it out. And Joe, that'd be great. I think that's all we need, unless I'm missing anything. Anna or Judy. I think I feel comfortable with the response here at this point in time.
Okay, we appreciate that. Thank you. And we'll continue to keep you posted.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Have a good night.
You too. All right. We are now at 7:30, so let's jump up to the new hearing. And so this is the Town of Hopkinton Hayden Row right away. And I need to read the hearing notice. The Hopkinton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, December 17th, 2024 at 7 p.m. virtually online to hear all persons interested in a notice of intent filed by the Town of Hopkinton to widen portions of Hayden Row for traffic improvements with associated site work. Location is portion of 129 Hayden Row, Assessor's Map U23, Block 28, Lot 0, portion of Hayden Row right away between Hilltop Road and 151 Hayden Row. So I understand we have a presentation. Who do we have on the call?
Through the chair, I believe Claire is going to be sharing her screen.
Claire, okay. You should be able to, Claire.
Great, appreciate it. Thank you. For the record, Claire Hogeboom, wetland scientist with LEC Environmental Consultants, representing the applicant, the Town of Hopkinton. Joining me are a few team members. On the screen, we have Chris Eberly and Chris Kenny of Vertex, the owner's project manager, and a few folks from VHB joining, Greg Russell, Vanud Kalakiri, and Madeline Schrott. I'm going to share my screen just with a few images to introduce the project area and some of the existing conditions, and then I'm going to pass things off to Greg over at VHB to discuss the project details. So I'll just start sharing my screen here. And do you all see the aerial image before you?
Yes.
Excellent. So the project area includes an approximately 1,480 linear foot segment of Hayden Row Street. As the chair indicated in the introduction, it extends between Hilltop Road here and the southern terminus of the project area is just a bit south of the recently approved proposed Charleswood driveway entrance. The purpose of this project is really intended to address several existing deficiencies within the roadway's overall capacity to support existing traffic patterns, in addition to the anticipated future traffic and safety patterns as well. I understand we did just recently receive approval for the Charleswood Elementary School that's located to the east of this project area, just south of Marathon Elementary here. The projects are, in essence, separate and complete projects, independent of each other for a few reasons. One is that they're going to be completely funded separately and will be bid and constructed by different contractors. They will be on different construction schedules. And as you can see indicated in red, the approximate limit of work is separate from the Charleswood site. And lastly, as Greg might go into detail in his discussion, or we could discuss further as necessary, the drainage areas associated with both of the projects are sort of in different directions and separate of each other. Greg might go into detail a bit more, but just as a brief intro, the existing stormwater infrastructure associated with Hayden Row is all subsurface and located entirely within the right-of-way beneath the paved roadway here. So as you can see, our project limits are essentially within the right-of-way of Hayden Row, and it does include about a 45-foot stretch of the entrance to Marathon Elementary School. At existing conditions, the roadway is comprised of 2 travel lanes, a gravel shoulder located on the east side of Hayden Row, 5.5-foot wide paved sidewalk on the west side here, and that's all within about a 50 to 60-foot wide right of way. And north of Marathon Elementary, on the southbound side, so on the west side of Hayden Row, a left turn only lane splits to allow and facilitate entry into the Marathon Elementary School driveway. And currently there are no traffic signals or safe pedestrian crossing. I believe there's one pedestrian crossing access on one of the sides of this street here, and perhaps at this street as well, but no traffic signals really to facilitate traffic patterns or safe crossing to the school. As far as resource areas go, there aren't really many to speak of in the southern half of the project area. There's a lot of residential development abutting the project on each side, and mostly on the western side of the northern project area. To the east, just north of Marathon Elementary School, LEC delineated a bordering vegetated wetland associated with an intermittent stream that has a 100-foot buffer zone that essentially encompasses the northern half of the project limits. And since this is a roadway improvements project, the associated municipal buffer zones include a 25-foot no disturbance zone and a 30-foot no build zone. And portions of the project are located within the aforementioned buffer zones as well that you'll see on the plan set that Greg will be sharing. Another component Greg will be discussing further is that there is a dense stand of Japanese knotweed between the wetland and Hayden Row in the eastern project area here. The applicant is proposing to remove the invasive species and replace with native shrub plantings and a native seed mix as mitigation for the work in the municipal buffer zones. Just to touch briefly on that intermittent stream, I'll just go quickly to this USGS topography map. So in red, here's our project area. It's very zoomed out on this image from the previous image, but what you see here is the intermittent stream is shown with a dashed blue line, and ultimately converges with the Charles River, a perennial stream that discharges down into Echo Lake. Charles River and Echo Lake are considered outstanding resource waters, and they're defined as including the waterways and any tributaries thereto. So as a tributary there too, we'd be chasing our intermittent stream channel up into our project limits. That would in turn classify the intermittent stream in our project limits as an outstanding resource water with a zone A extending 200 feet from the bank associated with that. LEC ran stream stats and included that in our notice of intent report, supporting the intermittent status of this stream. So there is no riverfront area associated with the stream channel that extends onto our project site. I just wanted to point that out as we received the peer review comment letter from Joe at Lucas Environmental, and he notably pointed that out in his letter. So I believe we're in general agreement with his comment, and appreciate that he was diligent in his review on that portion of the project area. Otherwise, there are no other resource areas really to speak of. Going back to the aerial image, there is a certified vernal pool, I believe about 300 feet or so beyond our project area. The site is not located within the 100-year floodplain, and nor is it located in any estimated or priority habitat mapped by Natural Heritage. And just something to point out before I pass things off to Greg, that intermittent stream is just located right here in the project area. So you'll see that generally on the plans when he shares them. It does flow through a 24-inch diameter pipe underneath Hayden Row Street and sort of daylights and continues off-site to here. So there's no intention to disrupt or impact that stream channel, as it is an outstanding resource water. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I will pass things off to Greg to continue on.
Thanks, Claire. Good evening, everyone. My name is Greg Russell with VHB. Let me know when that's visible.
We can see it. Thank
All
you.
So, Claire mentioned we're discussing, what is essentially a roadway improvement project that is related to substandard traffic conditions that were brought up to us related to the Marathon School driveway. And as we kind of go through this, we went through a series of alternatives for kind of developing these plans. And those were developed, with input from town staff. And so and I believe you got the alternatives memo that we pulled together as part of your package. Obviously the graphics on that are a little small, so we were gonna just quickly go through those here, just to kind of get back to how we got to what we thought was the logical and best alternative. So the first alternative that we looked at was a option with basically maintaining the existing lane widths that currently start north of Marathon School, where we have the 3-lane cross section, and then adding some additional shoulder width. So we now have, basically we end up with a cross section with 3-foot shoulders, 11-foot travel lanes, and a 10-foot turn lane for a total cross section of approximately 38 feet. Then we also looked at, and with the initial intent being to maintain the west edge of the road so that we wouldn't disturb the existing granite curb and sidewalk on that side. This would allow us to have basically one construction area open rather than working on both sides of the street. And then option 2 on this was Anna had asked us to take a look at possibly shifting the roadway to the north to try and minimize impacts on the wetlands to the south. And this, so we took a look at that, and kind of what you see in red here is the changes from that initial option. The biggest issue with this option is there's really not a lot of space to move to the west, without right-of-way impacts, and also impacting the stream head wall outlet that Claire was mentioning, which is approximately right here. It really only gave us the opportunity to move about 2 feet to the west in order to, because we would still have to provide guardrail unless we were going to rebuild the head wall and shift the entire head wall, which we didn't feel was pertinent, because our goal was to minimize the environmental impacts, and this would be introducing a new one. So, and then and that's beyond the fact that it also introduces other traffic issues where we would have kind of a reverse curve in Hayden Row as we come back through the signal to tie back in further to the south. And then moving to our last alternative, this was one that DPW asked us to look at that would provide like full complete streets with bike lanes, sidewalks on both sides of the roadway. And as you can see in the red line here, this red line would be the curb line. So our curb line is the proposed curb line. It's about an extra 5 to 6 feet. So then we're entering direct wetland impacts. And again, rebuilding the head wall that's on the east side of the stream. So that kind of taking all those into consideration, we felt the initial alternative that we looked at provided the least amount of impacts to the wetland resource areas without opening up other issues that wouldn't be present otherwise. So with that, we kind of, move forward with that alternative. And, as Claire said, the project starts just to the south of the proposed Charleswood driveway and carries through, starts to widen out. The sidewalk coming out of the Charleswood School ties in and we provide a pedestrian crossing at the mouth. And then provide some widening to maintain that left turn lane and additional shoulder width moving up. And all this area is outside of any of the buffer zones. And then we come back, kind of tie into existing where we get as we approach the Marathon School driveway. And as we pass the driveway, or as we go through the driveway, we start getting into the buffer zones. There's no widening proposed other than for shoulders, kind of for the first 100 feet or so. Basically, because we're maintaining the existing cross section. And then we start to carry the left turn lane further to the north, and which results in the additional widening along with the shoulders. In addition to that, we're providing guardrail along the east side until we start to taper back into the existing to the north by Hilltop. So you can see here we have kind of the limited grading in this dark dashed line. Here's the culvert that we were discussing. So we're staying away from that. We provided conservation markers at regular intervals along the guardrail. There are 2 utility poles that are getting moved back in the widening. The first 2 closest to the Marathon School driveway are staying in place. And so then the widening continues. We extend the left turn lane approximately 250 feet to the north, and then it starts to taper back in. And this area here is the area kind of the knotweed that we're looking at. So most of the knotweed, or a good percentage of the knotweed, is going to be taken out as part of the widening, and that area will be then under a paved surface. We have no, from grading, we have no direct impacts to the wetland area of the bordering vegetated wetland. We are putting in compost filter tubes along the entire either limit of grading, or we've shown them here along the edge of the wetland, just so that we have space to remove additional knotweed and do the planting and seeding that Claire had mentioned. And just to clarify, we are proposing to remove the knotweed within the public right of way. So there is, you can see here, there is a section where the wetland kind of bumps out. There's a kind of hump upland area here that goes onto private property that we don't have access to. So we can carry that out to, it's not shown like that here, but we would only be able to carry it to the public right of way. And then, so that area will be graded down. We're not proposing, currently this whole area on the east side drains as a country drainage. There's a bit of kind of intermittent berm on that side, but which ends right around here, and then it just goes into straight country drainage and drains off the side directly into the wetland. So the intent is to maintain that flow pattern. However, it'll all just sheet flow off the edge. and we'll be replanting the slope, and wherever we take out the knotweed, we'll be putting in shrubs or the native seed in along with the native seed mix. The on the east side, or sorry, the west side is all granite curb with concrete sidewalk. We're not proposing any work on that side within the buffer zone. We have put again erosion controls starting within the public right of way, kind of along the back of the existing head wall, which basically go from the first driveway to the north to the first driveway to the south, just to make sure that nothing from the roadway construction gets passed into that section of the river. The intent is for the widening area to be full depth reconstruction. The rest of it will be mill and overlay. So there should be minimal modifications, either elevation wise or construction wise on the west side. So we've kind of kept the erosion control to that limited area. Down on this side, on the east side, we start the erosion control basically at the first catch basin down the Marathon driveway, and then carry it all along for the rest of the project limits. Stormwater wise, there is a existing stormwater treatment unit on the Marathon driveway that discharges into a detention basin over on the north side of the driveway. There's a high point right around in this general area that kind of separates the north and south parts of the project. So pretty much all of this drainage either goes to this area is crowned, so it either goes to the west and flows along the curb, or it comes down and gets into this catch basin and goes down. Anything to the north, again, flows directly into the well. We did look into a variety of stormwater treatment options, including vegetated filter strips, leaching basins, and given the type D soils here and the just nothing was really available to use, and also given the tight right of way, and with the wetlands being up close past the right of way, kind of limited our options to what we can do. So that in a nutshell is that. So down here, this is kind of our invasive species removal plan here. So as you can see, this kind of hatched area is where the knotweed is present, and it's going to be under pavement. So it'll be removed as part of the clearing and grubbing operation and paved over. This area in the dot with the dotted hatch here is kind of the area that we're looking at for additional removal. And then we will add additional shrubs. So this is, under the roadway, we're talking almost 3,000 square feet of knotweed that we'll be removing. And then this area outside of the right of way, but not in the wetlands. Outside of the roadway, and in between the roadway and the wetlands is approximately 6,600 square feet. The idea would be that we'd be replacing that with, again, a native seed mix, and then shrubs such as high bush blueberry, arrowwood, pepperbush, or if there's something specific the commission would like, we could look into that as well. So that's kind of our plan for that area, and just so everyone, this is kind of what we're looking at. It's kind of this stand of knotweed that runs straight down the edge of the road. There are obviously, there's several kind of trees along this area. I know Joe pointed that out in his letter. I did go out and take a look today. So based varying on size, there's approximately 30 trees within that kind of strip, anywhere between the wetland line and the kind of on the backside of the utility poles. A lot of these trees, and so that number includes trees that are dead or dying, trees that have been creatively pruned by the utility companies. There's several trees that have we either have the extremely tall trees with no branches other than at the top, and then we also have several trees that have been topped off, basically just cut right at the top. All varying sizes. So these are the trees that are kind of in that knotweed zone that we'd be potentially impacting. These trees are more just past. These trees could potentially stay, if not, if we weren't going to take out the knotweed. They shouldn't be impacted by the utility lines. This is just south of the project limits. So, but this is just a general kind of overview of what this area looks like, both today and in the growing season. So, with that, that's kind of the general project overview. We can turn it over to questions if anybody has any.
Great, thank you for that presentation and going through the design alternatives. I think that's helpful. Project seems fairly straightforward, and I know invasives are a huge issue right here along the street. We see them cut regularly anyway. I guess I want to ask Joe if he wants to go over any of his comments in particular to highlight from his review that you haven't already talked about. Greg, Joe, do you have anything you want
I think
talk
maybe
about?
just touch on a couple of things. I did review the delineation and had no issues with the flagging except for one flag. G19 I thought was about 15 feet low, but it really doesn't impact the buffer zone at the proposed work. It's more or less along the entrance to the Marathon School. And just wanted to also point out there is an isolated pocket of cattail and hydric soil close to the Marathon School driveway that appears that it was likely created with the stormwater management, stormwater outflow that was likely done at the time for the Marathon driveway was put in. So I would assume that that is not a jurisdictional wetland if it was in fact created at that time. And I would just want verification that that was is the case, that it was created at the time that stormwater drainage went in along the driveway there. Also, just wanted to request that I believe that the work meets the limited project requirements. I just wanted to confirm, have the applicant confirm that what is being proposed does meet the requirement for widening of the less than a single lane. It's not defined in the regulation, exactly what a single lane width is, but maybe if that can be addressed, that would be helpful. It was touched on as far as the trees that are being removed. I did review the invasive species management plan, and that is a significant stand of knotweed that would be very beneficial to have removed and managed and minimized. So I am in favor of that. I felt that the waiver request and the alternatives, the scope of the alternatives was appropriate. And just wanted to also note, with respect to the stream that flows through the site, I think all the indications, stream stats, mapping, show the stream to be intermittent. It is also mapped by USGS as the Charles River. So even the segment that comes up through the project site, if you go onto the USGS national map, you can pull up the national hydrography data set, and it'll you can click on any stream segment and it'll give you some additional information. So USGS considers this stream segment that comes up through the site as the Charles River. I just point that out because by regulation, the entire length of the Charles River is considered a river. And then you get into a little bit of semantics as far as whether the river or only streams can be determined to be intermittent. But I think the evidence, both mapping and stream stats analysis shows that the stretch of the stream is intermittent. So I don't have any disagreement with that. So I think that pretty much touches on my comments.
Okay. Thanks, Joe. That's helpful.
Through the chair.
Yes.
So just with regards to the widening less than a lane, or however we want to define it, in part, we're kind of looking at this. I'm not sure if it's a one or other, either or, as a fixing of a substandard intersection, which is basically extending the left turn lane. Is basically the fix that was determined to be needed. So the substandard intersection, or repairing a substandard intersection, is exempt from it. In the event of the widening piece, we get to about just over 10 feet for a short period. Part of that is shoulder work, which is also considered exempt. So I think we are safely within the widening less than a travel lane in this case.
Okay. That makes sense to me. I know we're also waiting on stormwater review. I think that's been requested but not yet completed for this project. Is that correct?
Through the chair, yes, that's correct. We have a scope, but they haven't completed the review yet.
Okay.
Through the chair,
Yes.
could I just get one clarification of the peer review proposal? We did send through approval of the peer review proposal as outlined. We confirmed it with the ESBC chair. It included a review of the traffic associated with the proposal, and I wasn't quite certain what the intent of the traffic review is as it relates to this. The traffic study was approved by the planning department as part of the site plan review process that we had already done. And so I just wanted to make sure that we're not reopening the traffic discussion as part of Tyne Bond scope before the Conservation Commission.
Yeah, through the chair, I had the same misread of this paragraph. It says these services are not included in
Okay.
the scope. I had the same thought, but yeah, there's no traffic analysis as part of this.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Judy. All right. I don't think I have any questions. Seems like a very necessary project. Does anyone else on the commission have any questions or comments on what was presented?
One quick question.
Yeah.
There was some discussion about stormwater along this stretch we see on the screen right now, and how under existing conditions it just sheet flows off the road into the wetland. Did the applicant look at deep sump catch basin and a pipe network discharging to the adjacent to that 24-inch culvert as an improvement to offset the increased impervious area being proposed for the widening?
We did think about it, but it was kind of we kind of felt it was best to maintain the existing water flows. There's really no there's the existing catch basin over here discharges directly into the culvert. There's a gutter inlet to a catch basin and into the culvert here. We'd kind of be in the same situation, I guess. But so
yeah, respectfully, that's something I'd like to see as an improvement to offset the additional impervious is a curb and gutter. Right now, we've just got sheet flow directly into a bordering vegetated wetland with no TSS removal opportunity. Deep sub catch basin, especially if it's hooded, at least provides some opportunity for sediment hydrocarbons to be captured before getting to the stream. So something I'd at least like evaluated. I don't see any utilities that would provide conflicts, and the inverts seem like they would work out well. So I would appreciate if that could be looked at a little bit further.
Yep.
Through the chair, this is Ed.
Yes, Ed.
I have several questions, one of which I'm not sure I can get answered. I am curious at the estimated cost of this project. But with respect to the knotweed, if I understood this correctly, we're going to excavate an area where the knotweed is. That has to go someplace. I'm curious how that's going to be handled so it doesn't transport knotweed somewhere else. And then the entire area, I believe, is not to be dealt with. So there'll be still some knotweed left. And I'd like to know what the expectations are as to how well behaved that knotweed is going to be rather than expand into this area. And then my last question is an easy one. There are these dashed red lines that are coming across, like in this picture here, from the upper left towards the lower right. What do those represent? Thank you.
These red lines are the 25-foot and 30-foot buffers from the bordering vegetated wetland. As for the knotweed, I mean, there's no, obviously there's no guarantees. If some is left, that it won't, expand back out. That being said, we're basically, as part of this, we're removing its favorite environment. So the goal here is to, kind of remove it, replant it with the native species to try and provide a buffer to keep it from pushing back through. And that's kind of how, it'll have to be maintained in that, in that area to keep it from, trying to escape that area. But that's kind of the goal. I'd have to go back and check, or we have it in the invasive species management, how to get rid of it. But I'd have to go back and double check that.
Yep, Greg, I can touch on that a bit. We provided invasive species management plan in our notice of intent application. It's relatively brief, but similar to Charleswood Elementary School next door, this project will be bid out to a contractor who will be required to provide a site-specific ISMP and include that in their bid package. So we have some general outlines that any contractors will have to follow when preparing that for the bid package, and it'll really be up to the general contractor to ensure they're utilizing best construction management practices to keep soil and excavated materials from where the Japanese knotweed is present, separate from anything else on site, dispose of it properly so it's not mixed in with any other soils going to appropriate sites, and that it would be disposed of properly. So generally we have an overview and an outline of what we would be expecting, but it will be up to the general contractor, and the applicant is open to providing that final plan to the commission prior to the start of the construction.
So through the chair,
Yep.
and I still am under the impression that some of this knotweed is not going to be touched because it is allegedly not on this project property. I want to understand how it's expected that that knotweed is going to stay where it is, and how we, the town, is going to be dealing with this henceforth. I mean, I'm familiar enough with knotweed to know that it is almost impossible to eradicate. And if you leave 5 plants, you're soon going to have 15. Anyway, and I'm assuming that no one can answer my question as to roughly what the guesstimate is of cost of the project.
Through the chair.
Yes.
The project, the appropriation for the Charleswood School is funding the project. We have a rough appropriation that hasn't been revisited in a while, and not since these plans have been built, in the $2 to $2.5 million range for, actually, it might be 1.5 million, for the scope of the road work. Regarding the knotweed, you can see on the screen here, that line down the center between the two areas of knotweed represents a privately owned lot that is not owned by the town. And so the town doesn't have the authority to eradicate private land and to take on the liability of having to restore private land in such a way as part of the project. So we had to confine our work to the right of way. In terms of dealing with that knotweed, we can remove it, and I don't think that there's high confidence that the private land's knotweed will not spread back into the town's right of way. But as you mentioned, knotweed is going to do what knotweed's going to do, and the town can't take on the liability of eradicating knotweed on all private land in Hopkinton.
Just out of curiosity, is there, maybe this is a DPW question, whether any outreach was made to that private property owner for shared interest in removing that knotweed in some way, or are you saying that town council advises against that for other reasons?
It's not part of the scope of the street improvement. We have not reached out to town council for a decision on entering private land, but this is a street improvement project in the right of way.
Understood. I think just from the commission standpoint, and from what Ed is saying, it's obviously in the town's interest of all the new plantings and things that you put in this area that are right adjacent to the knotweed is kind of for nothing if the knotweed's just going to come and take it over again. So
we're happy
somewhat of an investment in maintaining town property.
We're happy to pass that question along to the DPW director and the town manager and see if they want to pursue that.
Okay, I think that would be worthwhile. Reach out. Does anyone else on the commission have any questions or comments? Anyone in the audience? No. Okay, so I think at this point in time, we have a couple things. We need the stormwater review. We've asked just to see if you can take a look at any mitigation for stormwater runoff for the additional impervious area. Probably part of the stormwater review. That might be something you can discuss through that process, or might be brought up through that process anyway. And then I think that the commission, or at least in regard to the invasive species management plan, the fact that it's mostly put on the contractor, I likely look for maybe a condition of our approval to be that invasive management plan that the contractor puts together be provided to the commission for review and comment prior to construction. It sounds like that's the way it goes anyway, but if you're amenable to a condition, I'd like to put that on our list so that we can take a look at that and provide any additional thoughts once the contractor's on board. Judy and Anna, do you have anything else? Anything else I missed?
We have not received a DP file number as well.
We need that as well. Okay. Okay. So thank you for the presentation. I guess I'll ask for a motion to continue this out. Would you like us to continue it to the next hearing or out to, given that the stormwater review is one of those items?
I would like it. I'd appreciate it if Judy could push Time Bond to return their comments. I know we had some very long waits on the initial visit with all of you and the planning board. If we can get those in a timely manner to respond to them for the next hearing, we'd prefer to be in the first January hearing. Project's moving forward and we'd like to finalize bid documents, and the stormwater is going to be an important component of studying what Matt asked us to take a look at.
Yep. Okay. That's fine with
Make a
me.
motion to continue to the January 7th hearing.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, I will go through the roll call. In favor, Ed,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
and myself am an aye. All right, thank you all for coming in and the presentation. Appreciate it.
Thank you all for your time. Have a happy holiday.
You too.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, next up we have 218 Wood Street, notice of intent for septic system. Jackson. Do we have someone on the call for
Dan
this?
McIntyre, representing the homeowner.
Hi, Dan. You want to give us a little rundown here?
Sure. So this is a replacement of an existing cesspool. The homeowner wants to try to get a new septic system in before the cesspool causes some real problems. So you can see Wood Street's on the left-hand side. It's on town water, so you got a water line coming in from Wood Street. The cesspool is located just behind the house by the porch. See a small circle there. And we are proposing to replace it with a Title V compliant septic system consisting of a septic tank, pump tank, and a leach bed. Due to the high groundwater, we need to mound up the backyard to meet the groundwater offset requirements of Title V. So that's why we need a pump in there. With respect to wetlands, we had that delineated by Goddard Consulting. You can see the wetland line toward the rear of the property there. And we show the 50-foot no disturb buffer and the 100-foot wetland buffer. The tank work and the abandonment of the cesspool is outside the buffer zone, but the leach field and much of the grading is within the buffer zone. Some of it even extending into the 50-foot no disturb buffer zone. The bulk of the backyard is previously disturbed. Most of it's grass. There's one area by that large rock toward the bottom of the picture. That area is kind of overgrown with shrubs where we have that slope. Lucas found some invasives in there as well. So that slope there will be disturbed. But we tend to restore it as a no-mow area. We're gonna put some large rocks around there to let that kind of grow back naturally. As part of Lucas's peer review, they recommended some bushes. We originally did not show any mitigation plantings because we felt that restoring the slope of the conservation mix and the surrounding vegetation would just kind of take over that slope like it has in the past. But in consultation with the homeowner, we did put in some high bush blueberries on that slope to help as mitigation and to restore that slope. We have erosion controls around all the work to prevent sedimentation going toward the wetlands. And we put in several wetland medallions for future homeowners to know that there's a wetland there. We did move one of those at the request of Lucas. We put it up closer to the rocks that are delineating the no-mow area, which seems more appropriate. And I think of that, I can turn it over for any questions.
Thank you. Joe, do you want to go over your comments?
Sure. I did look at the delineation, and I didn't have any issues with the flagging issue on the plan. As was mentioned, there are some invasives. There's not a lot of invasives, but some glossy buckthorn and some oriental bittersweet are present in that sloped area by the big boulder that will be regraded. The applicant has submitted some information on controlling the invasives as far as the plan is to remove those and to bury them on site. I would say as long as they're buried deeply, that should be effective for these species. There were 2 trees noted to be cut, and those at the time of my site inspection had already been cut. The applicant has also provided some information on why those needed to be cut. I don't know that he reviewed that just recently in his presentation. Might want to touch on that. I had noted that waiver request should be submitted, and that has been submitted. It's all noted there was some missing information on the WPA form that has been corrected and filled in. I questioned whether a stockpile would be needed, and if so, show it on the site plan. It appears that only a minimal stockpile would be required based on the applicant's response. And then I had also recommended the Conservation Commission discuss whether some plantings would be appropriate in the area of the relatively natural slope that is being regraded, and that's the area where they're now proposing the blueberry shrubs. And I think that pretty much covers my comments. I think most of my questions were addressed in the subsequent information that was provided by the applicant.
Okay, thanks, Joe. So question about the burying of invasives, and Ed, maybe you know this, maybe do Joe. It says on the plan at least 4 feet below grade. Is that what guidance tells us is appropriate depth? Or Dan, I don't know if that came from somewhere specific.
This is Ed. I can't speak to this, but I do know someone in town who said that he'd buried knotweed 6 feet and saw knotweed again, but who's to know whether that was the knotweed from 6 feet down or freshly moved in knotweed. So I have no data to support it one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for the knotweed, it really needs to get buried down pretty deep. And it's not a perfect solution. Burying invasives is not a perfect solution, but given the scope of this work and the limited invasives, it seemed like appropriate for this particular site.
Okay,
Yeah, through the chair.
sure.
I think for the species that are present, I think 4 feet is probably appropriate. If it was knotweed, that would probably need to be deeper because it's awful tough to get rid of that. That's been noted earlier. But for the glossy buckthorn and for the bittersweet, I think that 4 feet is appropriate.
Okay. Another question I had was just about the orientation of the system and whether it was considered or whether there was an alternative to kind of rotate it to avoid getting into that 50-foot buffer area, grading there and in the area that's kind of nicely treed. Was that considered at all?
We did look at a couple of different orientations when we were in the planning of this. The groundwater is pretty consistent depth below grade. So as we rotate it into the higher contours, we have to have a higher mound to meet the 4-foot groundwater offset. So this is kind of a nice compromise where it kind of follows the grades of the backyard, allows us to meet the 4-foot groundwater offset, but not mount it up so much where we create a drainage issue at the walkout basement.
Okay. Gotcha. And then the other question, Joe touched on it, was about the 2 trees that have already been removed. I see the one is there by the big boulder. I assume that's because of the grading work that would be done around it.
Yeah, we felt that was going to die anyways when it got filled over. The other tree is kind of coming off the driveway. It's going to be in the way of construction access.
Mm-hmm.
We also felt that the root system would eventually get into the new septic system, and we wanted to avoid that.
Okay. I think if they're healthy trees, typically we look for replacement trees. Is that something that was discussed, or the homeowner might be able to find a spot for replacement trees?
Well, we discussed it. Again, we felt that just the conservation mix was adequate for the scope of this work. The wetland is wooded. There's a lot of trees around the perimeter of this. I think the loss of one tree can be more than compensated by the no-mow area and the blueberry bushes that we're proposing.
And in that brush line, so these are the only, because the brush line goes where the rocks are basically, so there's no other significant trees that are coming down as part of that grading?
No.
Okay. Any thoughts, questions from other commission members?
Hi, Melissa, just a small one.
Yep.
Staying with the trees, your question was, are there any significant trees coming down? Is significant a key word there when you answer no, Mr. McIntyre?
No, I think it's just the 2 trees we identified. The rest is shrubs, and maybe there's some small trees growing in amongst those shrubs, but it's really just those 2 trees.
Okay. All right.
Let's see, anyone else? I think the thing I think I'm tripping up on is the tree replacement, just because we are pretty much sticklers for replacement trees. Pretty consistent on requiring that when healthy trees are taken down for a project.
I agree, Melissa, and doubly so when permission wasn't given to remove them ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the homeowner apologizes for that. He got a little carried away. But the tree needs to come down for future healthy of the system and for construction access.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's looking at a $50,000 system here. And it's in a vast improvement over a cesspool in the groundwater table.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, another $500 or $1,000 for trees, you know, isn't the end of the world, but, you know, that's the cost of a septic tank or a pump tank.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, he's not doing this to build a new house or build a subdivision. He's just trying to improve his lot in life with the septic system over a cesspool.
Yeah. Understood. I think, you know, having the four, so we have four, well, I guess they're drawn as 4 blueberries. I think I would personally be comfortable with those 4 blueberries, mitigating for one of the removed trees. Possibly looking for an additional tree to be planted for the removal of the tree that's kind of closer to the house.
What kind of tree we would be satisfied with?
We have any native, whatever's on our conservation list for trees, not picky. Could be whatever the homeowner likes.
Okay. Like, he likes no trees, is what he
He
likes.
likes no trees. A tree.
Through the chair,
Yes, Anna.
would you consider like 2 additional blueberry bushes or 2 additional shrub plantings?
I was thinking we keep the blueberries and maybe plant something, you know, down at the bottom of that slope as kind of a transition from shrubs to woods.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe I don't know, a river birch or something like that.
Mm-hmm. That would be fine with me. Another
We
tree.
just don't want to plant it up near the septic system. We like to try to keep it
I
away
hear
from.
you. You want to keep the roots out. Yep.
So if you're
And-
happy somewhere down at the bottom of that slope near the 322 contour, something like that, the proposed 322 contour,
Mm-hmm.
we can revise the plan accordingly and get that done.
Yeah, that would be appreciated.
Okay.
I think that's it. If no one else has anything else. Can we condition that, Anna, and vote on it?
Through the chair, it's up to the commission. I feel that this is, it's been agreed upon by the applicant. So while we would like the revised plan, I would hope that Mr. McIntyre can get that to us prior to the 21 days that we have to issue the order, if you choose to vote tonight.
I can, and it would be appreciated if we could vote with that condition.
Okay.
And a signature page friendly reminder, please, and thank you.
Yes, can I get that motion?
Yeah, through the chair, real quick.
Yep.
I apologize if I missed this, but Joe, did you have any outstanding items that you needed addressed as well, or were you satisfied with where this plan landed?
No, I think my questions were addressed in the supplemental information that was provided and also what was discussed tonight.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So I'll make a motion to issue an order of conditions with this condition specific to the addition of a river birch or other tree at the Toa slope within the 50-foot no disturb area, and signatures by Anna or Judy.
Thanks, Matt.
Oh.
Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
All right. All in favor, Ed?
Aye.
Janine?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Ted?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
And I am also an aye.
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck. Merry Christmas. All right. Next up, we have 9 School Street, request for determination of applicability, another septic system.
Again, Dan McIntyre representing the homeowner.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Can we just read the legal ad for this one, please?
Maybe. Did you send it to me?
It was all in one PDF, all 5 of them.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Scroll down. Gotcha. Thank you. All right. The Hopkinton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, December 17th, 2024 at 7 p.m. virtually online to hear all persons interested in a request for determination of applicability filed by Lai Feng Chen to replace a failed septic system with associated site work. Location 9 School Street, Assessor's Map R22, Block 12, Lot E. Go ahead. Continue.
This is a replacement of a failed septic system. It did not pass a Title V inspection when the home sold. The new homeowner is putting in a new septic system. Over to the left-hand side is School Street. Driveway goes in, and the existing system is in the front yard, and there's a well in the backyard. We had Goddard Consulting go out there and put in some wetland flags for the wetland that's on this property. And we redesigned the new system to be essentially in the same location as the existing system. It's the only practical place to put it. Again, it consists of a new septic tank, pump tank, and a leaching bed because of the high groundwater table. All of the work is outside the 50-foot buffer zone. Some of the work will be inside the buffer zone, some of it outside, but the bulk of it will be in the buffer zone. It's all of it is previously disturbed. It's essentially lawn and driveway now. When the work is done, it'll be completed. It'll be restored as lawn in the front yard. We did receive the Lucas report. One of their comments was that the wetland may extend further up towards School Street, up by GCA 7, the last flag that Goddard put in. We don't doubt that. And one of the recommendations was to add additional wetland medallions up in that area. And we added that to the plan. Just to notify homeowners of potential wetland up in that area. And at the request of Lucas, we extended the erosion controls up along the driveway to protect that larger wetland. Other than that, I think it's a pretty straightforward project. Again, it's a environmental improvement, we'll be lifting the septic system out of the groundwater table. And we've got the wetland medallions as is not really mitigation, but we're adding that in there for future homeowners to identify that it's actually a wetland back there. And I think with that, I can turn over for questions.
Great, thank you. Joe, do you have anything you want to highlight from your comments, or were they addressed?
I think they were addressed. Just to point out, it looks like, as was stated, based on hydric soil observations, the wetland line extends into the lawn beyond flag GCA 7. Based on my field measurements, it looks like the proposed work still remains outside the 50-foot buffer zone from that extension of the wetland.
Mm-hmm. And those proposed medallions, I assume, are they just going along the tree line?
Yeah, I can know that those actually would be at least the ones that were added would be in the lawn. It looks like the other ones, the tree line is not shown, so it's not clear.
The original ones we were going to try to get them onto a substantial tree along the edge of the lawn, and on that. The new ones added, we did put a note that we'll have to locate it in the field, but it's probably going to be on some sort of a metal post.
Okay.
Also, I had just requested if there was going to be a stockpile that should be shown. I think the applicant has responded that no stockpiling would be required except for a very small temporary pile next to the system. I had a question on PIB markers that was addressed. I had a question on erosion control matting, not to include any plastic. And that comment was revised to change to jute matting so that there is no plastic. And the erosion controls were extended, so I think my comments were all addressed.
Okay. Does anyone on the commission have any questions or comments on this?
Yeah, one comment on the PIBs.
Yeah.
So given we're not being asked to determine the wetland location, or at least I assume that's the case here, because I would expect an NOI if we're looking for determination of the wetlands. Putting a PIB in the middle of an existing lawn just doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Personally, I think it is more likely to be confusing to a landowner to have a PIB medallion just sitting in the middle of their lawn and could be misinterpreted. So my preference would be we find some substantial trees along what we clearly agree is a wetland area, and it's a little bit cleaner from my perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I think this is a pretty straightforward project.
Yeah, I hear you on that, Matt. Dan, is there trees along the wetland? Like, I guess, does that make sense? Would it, just from being out there, I don't know if we have any pictures of this area in the file, but is there a tree in the vicinity that?
Well, that's kind of why we put it located by field, because I agree with Matt. We really don't want to put a stake in the middle of the lawn. It's just going to get pulled out. But you can see in the far distance. Look, what are we looking here? There's the backyard. I think the previous, not the previous photo, a couple of photos back showed if you look beyond the driveway where it's wooded there, I think we could find a spot there.
Through the chair?
Yes.
Yeah, I think if you look at like some of the photos near the end, like number 4172, that shows more or less where I had observed the hydric soil edge. And then it kind of extends to the shrub line from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Through the chair.
Yes.
I have a lot of background noise at my house, so I missed a few things. But I thought, Joe, I heard you say that the lawn actually extends into the wetland in a spot? Or did I
Yes,
misunderstand that?
if you continue through those photos, and if you look at photo number 4172. Okay, right there. So that's about the edge of hydric soil. And then the wetland line more or less continues toward the trees and the tree line, shrub line from there. My concern there was whether or not the wetland edge created a 50-foot buffer that would put the work within 50-foot buffer, but it looks like that is not the case based on field measurements.
Okay.
But that is about where I would say the edge of the hydric soil is extending to the line. And
So
that location it would actually curve more or less parallel with School Street toward the viewer in that photo.
So then again, apologies for asking people to repeat, but I couldn't hear what was going on. I think I understood Matt and Melissa to say maybe we just ought to put PIBs on the existing tree line, but that would be putting PIBs in the wetland, wouldn't it?
No, not in this case. The tree line would be just near the edge of the wetland.
Okay.
That location.
Okay.
If you're looking at the I'd say the furthest extending tree on the left, you can go to there. That's roughly the edge of the wetland. If you're going into any of the trees further left of that, then you could be getting into the wetland.
So I think either a medallion on the closest tree, which is kind of tiny, or a stake
Right, exactly,
on the line of the lawn, or like right in that leaf litter area. So it's not in the middle of the lawn, right?
Yeah, that's what I was getting at, Melissa.
Yeah.
It's confusing.
That'd be great if we could do that.
And from what I understand, looking at aerials, there's another driveway, like where Joe's standing taking this picture. Behind them's another driveway.
Correct.
So it just gets really awkward with a stake in the middle of the lawn to try to convey our intent here, which is there's a wetland in the woods. Be aware of it, homeowner. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Through the chair, from what I can see, the house just sold, which makes sense. That's why they did a Title V and have a failed Title V. But I think since we're going to have a new homeowner, I think this is our opportunity to be really clear on the markers and where they are and what they mean. So maybe an abundance of caution, might be better than not, going fewer, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Put a couple stakes in there.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
because I just imagine new homeowner and, not realizing and is, going to go in places and extend lawn where they shouldn't be extending unless we're pretty clear.
Yeah.
And just to clarify that point, the new homeowner is actually living there now.
Oh,
Is the applicant, so he's aware of what's going on.
okay, good. Thanks.
Okay. All right. So does that make sense? I think the only If you could show the plan again, Judy. So essentially, it's just that maybe last red dot that it can remain the same in this area to be located in the field. So we're just going to locate it. It doesn't have to be in the lawn area. It can be on the edge between the lawn and the leaf litter if you want to put it on a stick or a post to kind of close that out.
If you just note that in the condition.
Yeah. Yep. I think it's general enough on the plan that we put in a condition, it'll get done. So, okay. Anyone from the audience have any comments, questions? No. Okay, can I get a motion to approve with the condition added to clarify the medallion location and signature pages by Judy or Anna?
So moved.
Real quick.
Yeah.
This is an RDA, correct?
Yes.
Did I read that? Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
I don't have the form up in front of me. Anna or Judy, do you know which negative determination we'd be talking about here? Is it -3? Just going off the top of my head here.
Share whichever negative doesn't confirm the resource boundary, but I can double check.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we make the appropriate motion here. I'll pull up the form.
Yeah, through the chair, in the past, you guys have voted to just close and approve issuing a negative determination without confirming the delineation. And then staff has always just picked the correct checkbox.
If you're comfortable with that, that sounds good to me.
Okay.
Melissa, you good with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
So if I heard you correctly before, we're making a motion for a negative determination without the confirmation of wetland resource areas. And we're conditioning that negative determination with a final plan that shows the tree line and the PIBs located along that tree line. Did I hear that correctly, Janine?
Yes.
Okay. And signatures.
And signatures. I'll amend Janine's motion with signatures by Judy or Anna.
Yeah.
And second it.
Thank you.
All right. All in favor? Ed? Janine?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Ted?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
And I am also an aye.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yep. All right, next up, we have 1 Teresa Road. This is another request for determination of applicability for an addition. And yes, I will read it. All right, the Hopkinton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, December 17th, 2024 at 7 p.m. virtually online to hear all persons interested in a request for determination of applicability filed by Raymond and Julie Fryer to construct an addition with associated site work. Location 1 Teresa Road, Assessor's Map U24, Block 101, Lot 0. All right. So, do we have Anna? Were you going to go, or Judy, go through this one, or do we have someone on the line, homeowner or otherwise, to present the project?
I believe the applicant is on the line.
Okay.
Yeah, Ray Fryer, 1 Teresa Road, homeowner.
Hi, Ray.
Hi. Yes, what we are proposing is an addition to our house, sort of three parts there. We're looking to add a second story over our current 2-car garage. We're looking to add a carport over on the, I guess that's kind of the northern side, a single car carport. Honestly, we may or may not do that, but I'm putting that in the application right now. And the part that seems to be in the wetlands buffer zone is a roughly about 190 square foot addition off the rear of our house, off of our family room and garage. The one corner of it, the southwesternmost corner, there's about a 4 foot by 6 foot corner that's within that buffer zone. So the current conditions there, it's just a previously disturbed grassy area behind the house, and on the side of the house, it's currently a gravel pad right now. It's all gravel. Used to be an in-ground swimming pool right there, but now it's been filled in by the previous owners. Gravel now.
Okay. Looks pretty straightforward. Joe, did you look at this one?
I did look at this one.
Okay.
Just had a couple of comments. As was pointed out, only a small area of work is proposed within the buffer zone. I think the question was whether or not there was riverfront area on the site. Again, we have the same stream that we were talking about earlier, which is the headwater stream, headwater of the Charles River, which flows into a culvert on this site near wetland flags B1, B2. Actually flows out of a culvert at that location. Flows into a culvert on the north side of Teresa Road, approximately 400 feet from the outlet culvert in a straight line. There again, we'll get into the questions about the perennial stream status. In this case, it is mapped as perennial, where it outflows on the southeast corner of the property. There was apparently a previous finding by the Conservation Commission that the stream was determined to be intermittent downstream of this location and meeting the requirements of the regulations as far as finding a perennial stream to be dry for consecutive site visits within a non-drought period. However, the actual status is somewhat moot because the stream flows through greater than 200 feet of culvert, and under the regulations, the riverfront area would be drawn in a line perpendicular to the stream where it enters or it flows out of where it becomes perennial at the culvert. In that case, the line would extend from the line between wetland flags B1 and B2 straight from there across the site, and no work would actually be proposed within the riverfront area. And likewise, on the upstream side, the line would be located off-site on the north side of Teresa Road, so there would be no riverfront area on the site. So the bottom line is that there's no riverfront area on the site, even though there's a perennial stream mapped in the southeast corner. As far as some of the observations on site, there's a 4-inch drain pipe located between flags, wetland flag 3 and wetland flag 4, which discharges into the wetland. I recommended that the applicant provide some information on what that is, what the origin of that is. Concur that all the work is located within existing lawn area. Couple of comments on the BVW forms, which don't significantly impact any of the proposed work. Also, some questions on whether the scale bar on the site plan is correct. It seemed to be a little bit off or mislabeled. again, with this plan, there's no stockpile location. If there is a stockpile location, I think that probably could be located outside the buffer zone, given that the small amount of buffer zone that is being proposed to work. I did recommend the commission discuss whether or not the riverfront line needs to be added to the plan, extending an extension of the line between wetland flags B1 and B2. Excuse me. And also noted that there are no PIB markers on the plan, and guess the commission may want to discuss that also. And that pretty much summarizes my comments.
I can comment on the 4-inch drain line. That's a front strain, as well as a front strain on both the inside and along the northwest edge of our garage where the pool used to be. And I believe 1 or 2 gutters downspout also go into that drain as well. The way the property is graded, the only low point on the property is over on that side. The drain was there when we moved in as a sort of an old rubber. I don't know if it was a rubber or whatnot, but the material was deteriorating as I tried to repair it. So that's why it's now a white plastic drain. During times of high water or heavy rain, there can be hundreds or even over 1,000 gallons going into that drain.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Yes, Joe.
Just to follow up on that, that outlet of that pipe is located well into the wetland. So the commission should be aware of that and may want to consider having that pulled back a little bit if it's possible from the wetland boundary, if it's carrying a fair amount of flow. I didn't see any evidence of erosion, but it is located into the wetland.
Okay. Yeah, that was going to be my question. If there was erosion, is it fairly deep to get it there?
Right now, it's just sitting on top. It goes over to right between wetland flag 3 and 4, underground, and then it's just like an extension where the pipes come in 10-foot lengths. I think there's 1 or 2 length extensions. Trying to get the water closer to the stream and out of the wetlands area, but if it's better to have it in the wetlands area, then they could certainly pull back those pipes and let it flow into the wetland area. It might be part of the reason there is a wetland there. I don't know. So there's a lot of water going in there sometimes.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's that close to the wetland, if it's better to pull it back. Maybe it's, so the part, would be pretty simple taking up the pipe to get it outside of the wetland. That part, you wouldn't have to dig or anything like that.
No, no, I just have to simply pull off 2 sections.
Yeah.
It would be right on the edge.
I don't know, my thought, and I'll ask other commission members for their thoughts, probably would be a good idea to remove the plastic pipe from within the wetland, if it's not going to cause additional, impact to dig it out, just so that we don't have, just visually and having something not natural in the wetland area, if we can pull it out, I think that would be good. Does anyone have any thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know. Matt, go ahead.
I was going to say through the chair, were there any prior orders issued for this property? Do we know?
I don't.
Oh, Melissa, Do I remember correctly that there was once to be a rain garden here? Over on the southern portion of the property? Where there was an NOI? Or am I making that up?
Are you thinking of Hughes property right next to
No,
it?
no, no, no. No, this property. In the, oops,
I don't remember this.
it would have been several years ago.
Yeah, we've owned it since 2005. and
Okay,
as
so
far as I
you
know-
never had proposed a rain garden or some type of water feature on the southerly portion?
No.
Okay, it must
I
be
know the-
another place.
Through the chair, I don't have any.
Thank you.
Anything from NOIs on this property in our records.
Okay. So no map. Not that we have on file anyway.
I only ask because we've got a black iron fence going through the wetland, and looking at some of the historic aerials of the property, this wasn't always lawn.
Mm-hmm.
So, I understand what we're here for to look at. It's the proposed building addition and the carport, and that's a portion of that's in jurisdiction.
Yep.
But if we're gonna go down the path of discussing PIBs and potentially moving drain discharge lines, if we're gonna take a holistic look at this, we should take a holistic look at
It's
this.
a slippery slope, yeah.
Yeah.
The black
So
iron fence.
I'm
Oh, sorry.
torn on which way, as a commission, we should be looking at this particular proposal.
Yeah.
The black iron fence is just along the grassy part in the front there. The rest of it is 4x4 wooden posts with I guess you call it galvanized fencing in between.
Okay. Let's see, it's such a small area that's in our buffer. It's in the 100. Yeah, no, I hear you, Matt, especially with PI. I don't think I want to put PIBs up and not with other things going on inside of them either. So, but it's such a minor encroachment, already disturbed area for what we're looking at for this specific application. I think I would, my thought is to just look at the addition as it is. And for this is an RDA as well, right? So I think I would go ahead and look to approve this as an RDA for the small impact that we have here in the 100-foot buffer.
Through the chair.
Yes, Ted.
I think I'm inclined to agree with you and back off on the pipe. I would not sleep well, though, if I didn't bring up the chicken uprising right next to the play space. I'm worried about the coup of the chickens, and because it is within the buffer zone, it might be worth talking about. Coop is spelled with 2 O's, not O-U.
Yep.
So I mean, if the children are playing back there, an uprising of chickens, it might be something to be
over.
careful of.
Nice
Children
catch, Ted.
That's a nice catch, Ted. A little humor is always
Very nice.
Let's keep the plan exactly how it is, just for that.
I like that the architect could predict the uprising, or maybe it's just been going on for months and years. I don't know.
Through the chair, this is Ed. I've been trying to be very quiet here because I have tangled with those chickens when I was working in the cow run. They're a very aggressive lot. You want to be very careful.
Okay. So with those words of advice, Ray, in regards to the chickens, can I get a motion for negative determination on this filing? I think that's it. I don't think we have any special conditions.
I'll make that motion and we'll recommend one condition.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion for a negative determination with no confirmation of the wetland resource area shown on the plan, with a condition that erosion and sedimentation controls be located outside of the 50-foot buffer.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Through the chair before you vote.
Yes.
With signatures by Anna or Judy.
Thank you.
All right. All in favor, Ed,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Jim,
All right.
Ted,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
and I'm also an aye. All right. You're all set, Ray. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right. Our last new hearing for the night, Wall Street Development, 12 North Mill Street, Notice of Intent. Let me read. Okay. The Hopkinton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, December 17th, 2024 at 7 p.m. virtually online to hear all persons interested in a notice of intent filed by Wall Street Development Corp. For temporary access for soil testing. Location 12 North Mill Street, Assessor's Map R19, Block 23, Lot E. Mr. Petrozzi, are you still with us?
Oh my God, yes, I just woke up.
Okay, good. You're on.
All right, so basically this is a lot that we've had for quite some time, probably 25 years or so. It predates the adoption of the Euro Wetland Bylaw. We're in the process of retesting for septic system, soil testing in the rear portion of the lot. It was done back in 1995 or 93, but based on the Title V regulations, it's required to be tested again. So we're simply asking for permission to meander through the wetland area with as minimal disturbance as possible to get to the other side, and just do a couple of test holes and meander back out. That's kind of what we're requesting tonight.
Okay. So in order to do this work, have you submitted a waiver request?
No, I'm not quite sure we need a waiver request. It's permitted under your bylaw that we can do work for, what do you call, testing for soil testing, surveying, and other things, setting monitoring wells, or those things are permitted as one of your minor activities.
I believe, but you are within some of our setbacks though, correct?
Well, you know, this is part of what I will originally or will eventually provide the commission with the documentation that it's a pre-existing lot. And as I mentioned before, it predates your bylaw, and there are certain provisions that exempt this lot from your buffer disturbance criteria. So I'd rather not get into that discussion tonight, as I mentioned earlier. But I do wish that the commission allow us to cross the wetland area with a small machine to excavate these test holes.
Okay. And well, let me go for a minute to Joe. You did provide a comment letter on this. I had looked at that. Do you want to identify anything in particular from your comment letter?
Yeah, I think description that Mr. Petrosi had mentioned as far as why he believes the site is exempt would be helpful to see what particular references he would be referring to. I'll just say I have not looked at the site with reference to the currently proposed work. I had looked at it previously under the review of the ANRAD that was done in November of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
I did note that no waiver request was submitted. The access road is located within the 50-foot notice disturb and also partly within the 125-foot notice disturb buffer from the vernal pool. They recommended that a narrative be provided that would describe any trees that would need to be cut within the BVW and buffer zone. Also describe how the wetland was to be crossed as far as using wetland mats or what other method would be used not to impact the wetland. And also how the stream would be crossed, not to impact the stream and the banks. The application indicated approximately 800 square feet of BVW impact was proposed. The area shown on the plan is closer to 1,450 square feet. It may be because that's just an approximation, but we'd like the clarification on that. There were several items on the form, the WPA Form 3 that were not completed. Won't need to identify each one of those. And as I said, the Form 3 indicates that the project qualifies as a limited project for a crossing, although no reference is given to the limited project. We recommend that the actual reference to the regulatory language is cited, so the commission needs to determine if whether it's an appropriate limited project application. And also lastly, I just noted that the Form 3 indicates that there's more than one property owner, but no additional information was provided on additional property owners. And that pretty much summarizes my comments.
Okay, thanks, Joe. So I think what we have here is, the application is deficient at this point as far as is what we need to review. We do need a waiver request. We've had a similar site to this not too long ago. And commission members, many of them will probably remember, where we had a tight space getting back to test pits at the rear of a site, looking to expand to build another house on a property. And we very specifically had the applicant, as we do, I think, for most of our applications, flag out the path you know, that the equipment was going to travel in, so that, you know, Joe could look at that and we could verify, and that they could verify whether any trees would need to be taken down, rather than, you know, just rely on meandering through the woods and kind of figuring it out as we go. So I think that is important to actually have that mapped out. We've definitely had issues very recently with contractors not having a clearly marked path and taking down, you know, really expanding the work zone. And at that point, it's, you know, really too late. So
I'm happy to do that. We obviously take this pretty seriously in terms of we don't want to disturb more than what we have to, you know, to get through there. But I'm happy to flag out a path. You know, part of the when you're drawing the plan, one part of it is to go across the narrowest point. Narrowest point that may imply the least amount of disturbance may not be the clearest path either. So what I'll do is I'll flag out an area that what I think is the least disturbance for a piece of equipment. We're talking a mini excavator, not even 8 feet wide, to travel through there. At the time that we were trying to file this, you know, we were in a drought condition, and the situation was very dry, and it would have been an easy path out there with minimal impacts to the bank or to the resource area. I will say that, you know, you keep referring to a vernal pool. There's been no evidence submitted or that I know of that this is a vernal pool out there. So, you know, the fact that you required us to put this potential 125-foot zone line across there does not predetermine that this is a vernal pool. And according to your bylaw, I'm not quite sure that it's a no disturb zone either. So with that, I certainly would like to continue the meeting until your the second meeting in January, and I'll try to assemble the information that you're requiring and have it flagged, and we can do a site walk, I guess.
okay, we'd appreciate that. That works for me. Does anyone on the commission have any additional thoughts, questions, concerns on that plan at this point in time?
Through the chair,
Yes,
just wanted to point out that there is an ORAD as of this year that confirms that potential vernal pool as vernal pool, so that should be considered as such.
It's not a vernal pool, and there was no evidence submitted even suggest it was a vernal pool, and we would object to that interpretation of the ORAD.
Okay, it's but thank you, Judy, for pointing that out, because it is in our file that way. So it is worth, at least the commission needs to consider that.
Okay. So like I said, I'd request that we continue it to the second meeting in January.
Okay.
And hopefully I'll have my other information that will be available, and we can talk about the whole history of the lot and the bylaw.
All right, that sounds good. Can I get a motion from someone to continue this out?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor, Ed?
Aye.
Janine?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Ted?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
And I am also an aye.
Great. Thanks very much. Have
Okay.
a nice holiday.
You too. See you
Bye-bye.
next year. Bye.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Next up, continued hearing 71 West Main Street, request for determination of applicability. I believe we have some updated plans to take a look at. And is the applicant or the representative on the call? Jay?
Hi, I'm here, Jay Gallant, applicant's representative. I'm the architect for the project.
Great. Welcome back. Do you want to give an update on the changes you've made?
Yes, so we have moved, or I guess located the trash receptacles, which you can see to the east or right of the building and directly behind the parking area outside the 50-foot buffer zone. We were considering a location within the 50-foot buffer zone before, which was not good. This is better in a lot of ways. As you can see, we're proposing some native plantings in the location of the existing shed, which we're proposing to remove. And those are the updates to the plan. Oh, the third update is HVAC condenser, which is proposed to be right next to the building between the walkway and the building itself. Not within the 50-foot buffer.
Okay. Okay. Yep, this is looking better. Thank you. So is that four blueberries you're showing in the shed location?
Correct. So it's not very clearly shown that the existing shrubs that are there kind of go right up to the shed.
Yep.
You can sort of see, I dashed, I kind of ghosted in the line. And so the assumption is that they'll sort of fill that in.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then, so you have a note up there about the invasives was the other thing we touched on at the last meeting.
Correct. So we put together an invasive species management plan that basically we want to just go through and identify with our landscape contractor, if that's acceptable, to go through and identify the invasive species and remove them. That's our plan.
Okay. All right. Okay, I'm just reading it. I don't think I saw this yet. Joe, did you by chance take a look at this? I know it came in today.
I did have a chance to look at this.
You did? Okay.
I think
What do you think?
I think the only suggestion that I might include with the invasive species management plan is that step number 4, I think, where they're going to cut the knotweed and then cover it with plastic. Maybe prior to covering it, they initially paint the stems with some herbicide. I know there's discussion of herbicide use for a follow-up treatment, but it might be good to treat those stems initially when the plants are cut.
Yeah.
Depending on time of year, but if it's the appropriate time of year, that'd be, I think, beneficial.
Okay.
Thank you.
Through the chair, this is Ed.
Yes, Ed.
With too much painful experience in the open space property with knotweed, sort of echoing what Joe said, the way Parterre treated ours was after cutting it, then they would squirt herbicide down the stalk. The stalk is hollow, and like as already proposed, carry everything away in plastic bags.
Okay. All right. Does looks pretty detailed, this plan. I think that I'm thinking that's probably something we can condition, or add a condition through the vote. Judy or Anna, do you have any thoughts on that? For that number 4 to add painting the stems with herbicides when cut.
Through the chair, I think that sounds reasonable and happy to help if Jay, you need any tips.
Okay. All right, and if you can bring the plan back up for a second, I just want to see if anyone else on the commission has any thoughts or wants to share anything in regard to the changes in the plan. I think the four bushes seems reasonable to me for the given space. Joe, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. 4 blueberries for that shed space.
Yeah, it's a fairly small shed, I think.
Yeah.
That's probably fine.
Okay.
Chair, I'll just add that I appreciate the effort, Jay, that you and your team put in to make the modifications we requested. It doesn't go unnoticed. I know this is a back and forth process sometimes.
That's good. I mean, it's making the project better. I appreciate the input from everybody.
Yeah. Okay, anyone from the audience have any questions, comments, feedback? No? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve? This is an RDA, right? We decided RDA.
Mhm.
Okay. Negative determination on this RDA with the condition as discussed about the herbicides for number 4 there in the invasive planting plan, and signatures by Judy or Anna.
I'm happy to make that motion.
Okay.
I'll
Second.
second.
Do we want to add that we are not confirming the wetland boundaries? This is a point of clarity.
Yes. Yes, we do. Not confirming the wetland boundaries or any stream. Yeah. All right. Can I get a all in favor? Ed,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
and I am also an aye.
Thank you.
All right. Good luck.
Thanks.
Come back anytime.
All right.
All right, back to the work session items. The trails at Legacy Farms request for additional units to be released from the cease and desist. Mr. Bemis, you, I believe, are on the line now.
Yes, thank you. Good evening.
Good
I know Mr. Gately was in attendance earlier. I'm not sure if he's still here, but I can to speak to this. I know initially he had requested the release of 10 units, but
Yeah, Peter, why don't I take over that, please?
Oh, go ahead, Ben. You're there.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, the end of November, I sent a request to Anna and Judy for our second release of foundations. We had 10 released in July. They've all been installed. Most of them are framed and, proceeding with construction. And like I said, these 10 now have been done since about the middle of November. So I sent a request for another 10 units to be released. And today I amended it to 3 units. And I sent a revised schedule to Anna for the meeting tonight, just to lay out all the remaining work left, the remaining site work, infrastructure, and foundations. And as part of that submittal today, I also put a site plan in there that keyed in sequence the remaining, what I'm calling 8 releases. starting with the 3 that we would like approved for release tonight. Like I said, we decided to cut back the 10 to 3, just to kind of work with the commission and show them, that these 3 can be put in just like the 10 we recently finished. And I did make a note that these releases, at least the future releases, would really be dependent on marketing and sales. And but we've got some people in these next 3 units I'm requesting, 27, 29, and 31. These are the first single units in phase 4. The previous 10 units were 5 duplexes. And like I said, those are now complete. So to meet our contractual dates with our buyers, we would like to request those 3 foundations for approval.
All right. So in order to meet so last time we did foundation releases, I very specifically remember, and we put together a letter on what we needed from you in order to even consider release of any additional foundations. And I believe that included a schedule. It included finishing, which would have been finishing, also included the off-site mitigation work and SWIP reports, submitting SWIP reports, per the requirements on time and, complete. And as of, noon, when I was reviewing all my meeting material, we didn't have that documentation from you. It wasn't included with your original request. So I've
done several construction schedules. I'm not sure. We have weekly meetings and we revise it all the time. So, anyways, today I submitted the most recent revised schedule. So you do have that now. I think Peter can speak to the other items you're talking about.
Okay. Well, I think, this is something that we spelled out last time very clearly in our letter. And, submitting this information today is a little late for us to be considering at tonight's meeting. I don't think that myself or commission members or our staff have enough time to review what was provided to make any decisions tonight on releasing lots. So I think that's where I stand on that one.
SWIP reports. I'm just trying to understand what it is that I understand the most recent schedule you're just getting today.
Yeah.
I don't think it helps to have the prior schedules because they've been revised. So
I think the
reports,
schedule,
I believe, are up to date. I'm not sure what else you mentioned there. If you could.
we can pull up the letter.
We did submit a COC, but you're right, it did come in today.
Yeah.
For the 2 off-site areas. One is Ashland based and the other is Hopkinton based, but those were submitted to each community. The work has been done. We really wanted to go through one heavy rainstorm with it to make sure everything was good, and we did get that on Wednesday. So we were able to confirm everything, see everything was stable, and we prepared our as-built and submitted it.
Okay.
So we do have it.
Okay. That's appreciated. I think, for tonight, we're not going to be able to make a decision on releasing lots, we need to review this information for ourselves. We need to do that. So I think that's all I have on this agenda item. So we can move to the next one if you like, regarding the violation discussion.
Could I just ask you if you have everything now?
I
Considering
don't.
you just got this.
I don't know because I just got it this afternoon. So
You just got the new schedule this afternoon. I'm just looking at the other items and just to be clear on what it is that I think everything's been submitted. So if I understand, it's really just the construction schedule that needs to be reviewed. The
Yes,
SWIP
Judy.
reports and everything else have been submitted.
Okay.
We
And
did
see
get
what-
SWIP reports. A few of them were a little bit late, and we have not gotten one from the storm from last Wednesday, as far as I'm aware, which would be also great to have in a requirement through the cease and desist.
Yep. So we can review the material that you submitted today.
Okay.
And you can get that SWIP report in from last week. And then, we can look at that over the course of this upcoming week, and then we can let you know if, anything is deficient or we need additional information before the next meeting. We can do that
Okay.
to make sure we're prepared for next time. Okay. All right, so notice of violation. Judy and Anna, do you want to go through this one?
Sure, through the chair.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so last Wednesday, I went out on site during the storm and observed sediment tracking beyond the limit of work past the silt fence in the basin behind phase 4. Let me pull up my pictures. So sediment kind of pressing up against the silt fence behind the overflow behind the basin at phase 4, as well as a significant amount of sediment coming off of the unstabilized areas around the roadway for phase 4, flowing into catch basins, which unfortunately had silt sacks with holes in them. So these were going straight into the basin, which was pretty laden with sediment at the time. Spoke with Peter and asked for the silt sacks to be repaired, which I believe he was going to do. There was also some dewatering of the basin going on into a dirt bag to try to get some of that sediment out of the water coming off of the overflow area. I believe Ashland is on the call. They've also issued a notice of violation as they saw sediment entering the reservoir across the street.
Okay. All right. So being that, Becca, I see you. Hello, thank you for coming and sticking around. It's a late night. So I'd like to just give you an opportunity if you want to speak about your, what you've seen and want to share with our commission tonight.
Sure. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. I'll just clarify, we did not issue a new notice of violation. We still have our previous existing enforcement order, which is still in effect. I think we actually have 2 on different parts of the project. During that storm event, we did see sediment entering the wetlands down on Howe/Wilson Street over there, coming down from the various parts of the property. We did walk down to the reservoir as well, and there was sediment floating in the reservoir water. It was hard to say if that was coming off the site because a lot of the water was not colored from certain parts, but we just recently had them finish the mitigation construction, which Peter, I believe, will be on our meeting on December 23rd to discuss the compliance of that with the design, and the rate of the water coming off of that did result in some erosion of the soil around the reservoir, which ended up into the reservoir water as well.
Okay.
I did see at the bottom of the phase 4 basin, I think that was, yeah, those are the photos. The bottom of the phase 4 basin, I think there's photos there where the 3 rows of silt fence are. I think I was there a little bit after you guys, and it was overtopping those at that point and bringing sediment-laden water down the trail there and towards the Ashland side.
I would like to be able to speak to those photos before you move on if we can, because those are implying that that's sediment from our project, but it is not. The water in the channel that we constructed where the old corrugated pipe was clear water. So that sediment that you see in the reservoir is a result of the sediment at the base of the reservoir being exposed, because there's about 50 feet of shoreline exposed. That's why that sediment was in the pond that you could see in that first picture. That had nothing to do with sediment coming from the site. That sediment, by the time it reached the wetland, had an NTU of I think it was about 80, and the NTU on base flow in the main channel was 20. So I don't disagree. It was over 50. I said to Judy, that's exactly what we got for the readings. I fully agree. But by the time that water mixed with all the other water, it was clear in the main channel that went into the reservoir. Unfortunately, the reservoir has about 50 feet of shoreline that is flat. And that flat shoreline has to receive water coming from our project, plus all of Wilson Street, Howe Street, the watershed up above to North Legacy Farm Road. That's a lot of water, and it is causing rivulets and channels to cut into the shoreline. So that's why that sediment was in the pond like that, not because of our project. So I just want that clarified, because we tied into the existing sluiceway. We did not change the sluiceway that entered the water body of the reservoir.
Okay.
Thank you.
And these observations are things that will be in your SWIP
Yes.
report that we
yes.
haven't received yet, correct?
Right. And we did find the source of the problem. We eradicated it immediately, and had it not been for the shoulders of the road not being properly treated and having ruts in them, which shouldn't have been there, but they were, that caused the transport into the road. So Judy's right about her assessment on where the sediment came from, and it's been addressed. There's stone around the road, as there should have been, and the site is well stabilized, and the problem in the basin has been eliminated, and we're back to a closed basin.
Okay. Judy, do you have anything else to add, or Becca?
Through the chair, no, I mean, I'm not in a position to say where the sediment in the reservoir came from, but I did see it coming off of the overflow silty and going down that gradient behind the property. So those were just my observations.
Yep. Yeah, no matter what the source is, we don't want sediment going into the reservoir. So
Agreed.
I think a lot of times there's multiple prongs to these things that happen, but we still need to figure it out. Okay. So, all right. At this point in time, you've put measures in place, and do you have more to do? How do you feel about the site? We get rain.
I could, if I can share my screen, I can show you an exhibit that will be further expounded on in the report. But if you'd like to, I can show you through exhibit, or I can just describe it to you if you prefer.
You should be able to share. That's fine.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Did that come up okay?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. So at the bottom of the sheet, pretty much south would be Walnut Street. So that's as you come into the entrance. And then this is Waterville Lane. And these are the 10 units that are constructed. These first 2 units that are in blue, they are what I would say complete with roof drains. The roof drains are tied in and complete. The next 3 units are in various stages of construction. But for the most part, this entire area is got some stabilization, either stone or stump grindings. In some instances, the driveways are paved, or we have stone in those driveways. So this area is secure. This is where our main construction area is. There is work going on now to install gas main through this section of the site. So we are doing excavation work. We do it in sections. We backfill and we retreat the ground again. This orange here is stone that's been placed around the perimeter of the driveway. They just finished putting an electrical duct bank through this area. This electrical duct bank area was fairly stabilized during the freeze period when the thaws came and then the heavy rain came. Down in this area, there had been some ruts from construction workers driving off the edge of the road. And then that rain, it did wash out into these lower catch basins that are here that did have silt sacks in them that were found to have holes in them. So there's stone here now. I'm not sure if I can go to another picture while I'm on the screen, but I can show you that there's probably about a 10-foot wide, 6 to 8 inches thick of stone around this entire perimeter to prevent that from happening again. This is a stockpile of soil that we have to repurpose with these fills that are located in this area. It's just stockpiled here now. It has perimeter fencing at the base of it, and it has another perimeter of silt fence around that other perimeter. So nothing transports out of this area. We're constructing the sewer pump station right here now. That has protections around it. The basin is here. This basin, we did some work in this. So back during the summer and fall, we didn't have a lot of rain, but when we did have rain, it was functioning properly. With the storm coming, anticipated it would still continue to perform properly, but did not. So we shut it down, and now we're back to a holding cell. So we're going to hold all the storm water during storm events and then just release it slowly through filtered bags. That's what we were doing before until we can have the ground, completely stabilized. So the picture that Judy showed you, she showed you this culvert. She showed you this silt fence here. When we did our soil test or our water test, if you will, that was at this location here. That's where we had the 80 NTU. And this main channel here is where we had basically 20, which is this background that comes from North Legacy Farm Road. And when I was testing it in this channel, it was clearer than this because it's actually getting added water from other sources. The film of sediment that you could see there was in this area, and it was from all of this water digging up the shoreline and carrying it out into the reservoir itself. It is not the water coming from this basin and contributing to here. So I just want to make sure that's factually correct, that that's what was happening. It was not our site.
So, okay, so it was 80 coming out of your site and then it got diluted. You had the benefit of dilution.
Not disagreeing with that.
Okay.
But the background, which had nothing to do with our site, I'm saying I test that up here. So that's offline so that we know what the background is.
Yep.
Because what ends up happening is the water coming off of North Legacy Farm Road, there's a very large watershed, and that pretty much just kind of tears, when it's raining heavily like it was, it tends to tear up the base, if you will, of the channel.
Mm-hmm.
So you do get some turbidity from it. It's not high, but it's still there. And I actually showed Judy those samples that I had because I kept them.
Mm-hmm.
The water, if you looked at it, it's clear, but if you put it into a turbidity meter, you're going to get a reading.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just it in a nutshell. We've made this basin so that it can hold. We've already successfully held over 6 inches of rain in it. We barely had 3 on Wednesday. So if the basin had been just shut down and not being used at all, we wouldn't have had the circumstance, but that's not happened. It was online and we've taken it back offline again. And I'm sorry for that. And we've done some other mitigation through here, and you'll get a report that identifies all of this.
Okay. So it was online because we
But
thought
we've had success.
Yeah.
We put the basin back together again. We cleaned everything up. We we had a good run there, if you will. This fall we had hardly any rain. That's why the reservoir is so down so much. But the few times it did rain, it was fine. We're
Yep.
still doing the same amount of construction out here. This road shoulder was the same condition. They had just finished up the underground duck bank though, so the soils were somewhat softer and as a result of the thaw. During the freeze period, this was all hard ground. And these are the 3 units that Vin is asking you for a release on. And we're doing this very systematically, and we're trying to do it in a methodical fashion so that the commission basically is seeing what's happening. We're reporting it. You have better control than you've had in the past with this. So we recognize that the soils here are difficult to work with, and we're trying to respond to them accordingly. And I can just try to bring up that other picture if it'll come up. I'm not sure. Can you see that? It didn't change?
No, it didn't change.
All right, I'm sorry. I'm going to stop the share. I'm going to go back and do the share one more time, just so you can see what we did along the road edge. I'm not sure why it doesn't let you do that, but so this shoulder, that's what was in Judy's picture. The water, that was coming down this slope was washing through this, and there were ruts from construction vehicles having gone off the road when the shoulder was soft after the thaw period. So that's what was causing that water to migrate back out into the pavement. Now that the stone's here, if a construction vehicle drives off the edge, it's not going to do that.
Okay,
It's
that looks
going to be
helpful.
less likely to do that, I should say.
No, that looks helpful.
Okay, so we're trying to respond. Again, we'd like to respond ahead of time to second guess what might happen, but as soon as we see something happening, we are responsive to it. We were there during the event, and we did stop that as quickly as we could when we saw what was happening.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's appreciated. It was a big storm. So yeah, we need to definitely be all hands on deck when those come up, especially after drought periods. I think it makes it worse.
Right.
The sediment. Any thoughts, questions from commission members that you would like to share?
This is Ed,
Yes, Ed.
the chair. And this is just a continuation. Everything seems to be after the fact, and we can't seemingly ever get ahead of it. And it's disheartening at the very least.
Anyone else to share? All right. So you'll be in front of Ashland on December 23rd, and that's to discuss it's to discuss the mitigation work.
That and then the completed work that we've done in Ashland.
And that includes that swale where you're saying the washout happened just downstream of it?
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Below the sluiceway. That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
So
So
I'd just like to ask when your next meeting is so that we can be ready to discuss the release with you that evening. When would that be?
Through the chair.
Yes.
Forgot to mention earlier that we do need to have clarification from Ashland that they're releasing lots from their cease and desist as well. So both towns need to release the same lots simultaneously.
Okay.
For us
Is
to
that part of the discussion on the 23rd?
Yes, it is.
Yep.
Okay. So our next meeting is January 7th. And then we had the following meeting is January 28th. So those are our 2 January meetings.
Well, we'll look forward to trying to do it on the 7th, and then we'll double check with staff to make sure they have everything that they need from your checklist.
Okay. And so just to clarify, I think when I say schedule, or in my mind, what I'm thinking when I think schedule, it's not be more what is the schedule for these type of things, the mitigation work and COCs and things that are, you know, related to commission's concern. Schedule that is important, phasing of releasing or looking for selling lots and things like that. But what might, and I didn't get a chance to look at the schedule that was provided, but if you don't have those types of milestone or things that we are particularly interested in, and then I think we're going to be lacking detail that we're looking for. So I think if you could work those into the schedule, information, if they're not in there already, that would be helpful for us to know. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right, I don't think I have anything else on this other than just keeping Judy and Anna up to speed on, you know, mitigation measures that you're putting into place, you know, to react to this event and in preparation for future events, would obviously be helpful to us, and we'll look forward to getting that SWIP report to take a look at.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Becca, for attending. Appreciate it. All right.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Yep. Where are we? We're 20th Century Homes, Conley Farms, request for project change. I think I saw
It should be Joe.
one of the nations on the call here. Chris or Craig, are you presenting, or do you have a representative to go over this?
I am here.
Okay. What do you got for us?
Evening all. Joe Marquardt here. Want me to jump in there, Greg?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I thought I was muted. Be here to offer whatever I can.
The reason we are here tonight is we're contemplating a change to the Conley Farm subdivision approved back in March of 2022. We approached John Gelsich, principal planner, about a change to this approval. And he suggested that we reach out to groups offline to try to get their feedback before we jumped into the formal process. DPW and this group, the Conservation Commission, being the two that he named specifically. A few days ago, I met with Anna and Judy just to lay out the changes and see what the pathway looked like moving forward. She suggested we come before the commission and lay it out, get your feedback and see where this heads. Judy, you want to advance that a little bit, or you want me to share my screen?
Yeah, happy to.
That's the sheet I'm thinking of, yeah.
Okay. Oh, there we go.
So for orientation, this is Hayden Row Street. This is Emerald Drive that leads up into the subdivision. All the homes are out in here. What we have proposed originally was a 10-foot wide walk from the intersection with Emerald Drive and Hayden Row Street in about 500 feet. And then we were to cross Emerald Drive and then meander southeasterly across that existing field to reach other land of the town of Hopkinton. That was going to be the trail network that led folks through what was the Dwinell Farm over to College Street and College Rock. There has been a shift, I think, in focus with the Trails Committee and town meeting. The idea that we would meet a trail that would be constructed along Hayden Row Street, I think, has gone by the boards. There is very little interest, I think, given the rate of traffic, the speed of traffic, and the infrastructure necessary to get folks from other spots like Granite Street, other potential trailheads to this spot. So given that, what we have explored is a change in the location of this path. Do you mind scrolling down, Judy, to that one more page? 2 more pages, one more if you wouldn't mind. So what we are proposing now, and the Hayden Row is down to the bottom left. We're about in the middle of the project. That thick gray line that runs across the plan from southeast to northwest, that's the existing footpath used by bikers and hikers across the site. They have been using that continuously throughout construction. It leads from a parcel owned by the town off of Kimball Road down to the Dwinell Farm. That is a better spot, quite frankly, for a path. The path through the existing field to other land of the town of Hopkinton down at the southeast corner also requires brush clearing, tree clearing, and construction of the trail. This existing path meets the Dwinell Farm in an area that is lawn, does not need any updates to the location. It links other potential properties like Cornell's, the Cornell Fields, Davenport Lane. It just creates an awful lot of opportunities that may be better than the spot that it was originally proposed when the trail was at a different spot and I guess a different mindset. So we feel this location works. It's got the support of the Hopkinton Trail Coordination and Management Committee, the Open Space Commission. Craig and Chris have done some legwork to bring everybody involved, get their opinions. And now we're at the point where we would like this board to weigh in and give us your thoughts on the proposal.
All right. Thanks, Joe. Ed, I can tell you're itching to talk about this one. And I'd love to hear your thoughts, being from Open Space.
Open Space supports this 100%.
Okay.
We have walked it with other members of HALT, and all support this.
Okay.
And through the chair, prior to it being disbanded, the Trails Management Committee supported this as well.
Okay. Yeah, it seems like it makes sense to me, and if it gets Ed's vote, then gets my vote. Anyone else have any questions on this? Oh, I did have one question. So So it's going to require an easement. Who does that easement go to? Like who's responsible for the trail or can do maintenance on it? Does it go to like open space or is it the commission? Is it the DPW? Do you know? Anyone?
I'm sorry, I do not. Craig, any thoughts?
Okay.
No, I don't know. It's over 3 of the house lots beyond where they would, beyond that detention basin. So, I guess I'd throw that question back at maybe Ed for open space, like who maintains the trails. I mean, currently just the people who use the trails maintain them. When we started building in there, the trail went right through the center of that detention basin. And as we built it, it just sort of naturally went right where that gray line is, essentially. So the people who use them maintain them.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Ed. I have one more comment. I am touched that this trail is known as the Billboard Trail. And I hope that nomenclature is not lost. And open space, because this is going to be at least partially on open space. I would assume that open space will see to it that the trail is maintained as appropriately as it should be.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds good.
Before we leave this topic,
Yep.
Judy, would you mind scrolling back up to the original page? Oh, down one. I'm sorry. Down one. I should note that section that runs through the buffer zone was 10 foot wide on the original plan. You can see there that we're now in green with that location. We're going to be 5 foot wide. So there will be a change there. We will be reducing the width of the pavement through that section in the buffer zone. At some point when we get to the end of this, you'll be seeing a 5 foot wide walk through that location, not 10.
Okay. Okay. So since this is a request for a project change, I don't know if we have to, but it might make sense to vote. So you have formal support from the commission. Also, I guess to document that walkway change on the plans. I don't think it would hurt. So unless anyone else has any questions, comments, concerns on this plan, I'd look for a motion to approve the project change request and support the trail as shown in the existing location.
This is Ed. I'll make that motion.
Melissa,
I'll second.
quick question. Do our orders typically have language in them for the protocol for a project change? This is the first time I'm encountering it, I think, since I've joined.
Through the chair.
Yes, Anna.
So Matt, typically when a change comes in like that, like this, the commission can either decide that it is a minor change or they can decide that it's a major change and would need the filing of an amended notice of intent. So in this case, this plan would become, an additional plan of record for when they go to apply for a COC. It will be documented as an approved project change, that it won't be matching that original plan of record, that they'd need to refer to this plan of record.
Okay, great. So this was
Does that make sense?
Yeah, this is a formal request for the commission to act on a project change.
Correct. Yeah. So it sounds like, based on what I'm hearing tonight, is the commission is deeming this as an insignificant project change and is not requiring the filing of an amended notice of intent.
Perfect. Thank you for educating me on this process for how we handle it.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we got a second there. So all in favor, Ed?
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Jim, that Jim?
Aye.
Okay, Ted,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
and I am also an aye. So thank you for the presentation and
Thank you.
yeah, have a good night.
Thanks.
All right. Last but not least, 27 Jamie Lane, request for certificate of compliance. Anna or Judy, do you want to go through this, or do we have anyone on the call that wants to discuss?
Through the chair, I'm happy to, but I believe this is also another of Joe's projects. So if you'd prefer.
Okay,
Joe, go for it.
sure, Joe. You're on.
Rick Lapp is the owner of 27 Jamie Lane, and an order of condition issued quite some time ago. The home is up for sale. It came up during the review, the due diligence by the buyer's attorney, that the order of conditions had never been closed out. So we did a survey, located the pertinent site features out there. We're able to pull forward from our files some of the information from, I believe, 1995. I'd have to check that. And this is the result. 93. So this is the result of that survey. Some lawn area in the back, some shrubs and tree planting, and a shed, I think, are different from the original order, but all, I guess, kind of in keeping with where the commission is at. The area is stabilized. There are not a lot of hardscapes out there that are within the 50-foot, simply some lawn area. And Rick is on the call, as you see, looking for the issuance of that COC.
Okay. Joe, did you have any comments on this one that you wanted to go through?
Yeah, just a few. Again, the order of conditions was issued quite some time ago, November of '92. Relative to the changes that were noted on the existing conditions plan, the area that was described as grading beyond the original proposed erosion control barrier appears to be lawn extension into the 50-foot no disturb. So you can see that sort of where the tree line kind of bends down is in no disturb zone. That's where that extension occurred beyond what was approved. The site is obviously well stabilized. It's no erosion issues were observed. There is a quite large leaf and brush pile located southwest of the shed area. I just wanted to bring that up. I know in the past sometimes the commission has requested that those be removed. This is a fairly substantial deep pile of leaves and brush, maybe being contributed to by more than one property. With respect to the filing documents, there was no recording information on the order, which is required. And they're both the special condition number 14 and the number 17. The bylaw appendix E form was not signed. The special condition number 19 of the order of conditions is a condition that we've come across a few times on the older orders that require specific language on the deed conveying the property. Not aware if that language was added to the deed. And there were no special conditions with the order of conditions. So that concludes my comments.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Yep. So we, while the deed reference was not on the COC application, it was recorded at the Registry of Deeds, and we have that deed information. The Appendix E was revised, I think the day after, Joe, it might have gotten sent to you. So we do have a signed Appendix E. And then the language that the commission used to require be added to deeds, this current commission has not continued that policy and has waived that requirement for these older orders. So we learned that it was pretty burdensome on the applicants to have to revise their deeds to add this additional language, and that recording the order and subsequent COC should hopefully provide that same information for protection. So just to clarify a couple of Joe's comments there.
Okay. Okay.
And this is Rick Lapp. I just wanted to thank you for taking time to review this. I really appreciate it. One of the, just for clarification on two things, the lawn area that was there, it's not an extension. It was other than, beyond, I guess, where it was originally staked, I guess, but the developer or the builder, when they graded the property, that was like originally where the grass was planted, where the transition happened between what was graded and the dirt and the where the natural shrubs and tree line was. So I guess that's kind of naturally where the grass wound up. And then just as far as the brush pit, that's kind of an area that I've taken the trees, the pieces of the pine trees and the shrubs that are in the area and have piled them in there. It's just that is actually just the stuff from our yard that's in there. And maybe it's got spread out because I tend to try and spread it out so it decomposes quickly. So I might have been overzealous in my spreading it out a bit. That's kind of that situation back there. So.
Okay. Okay. So thank you for that explanation. I think so. The only thing here, there's no PIBs currently on your property, are there?
Not
Like
that I'm aware of.
medallions or anything?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
When I first moved in, there was some blue tapes on some of the trees. That's, I knew that area was the wetlands area that, couldn't be disturbed, that there were there were just blue tapes on some of the trees.
Okay. Being that this is going to a new owner, I don't know if you'd be amenable to putting up some PIB markers, or if the other members of the commission think that's appropriate or not on this application. But we have, I don't know if you've seen them before. They're just little medallions that you can nail to the tree along the tree line every, I think, 40 feet or so, and it makes people aware of, where that line is, that you shouldn't be dumping or creeping lawn or
I don't think there would be, I guess I don't see an issue with that. There are a few trees, I guess, along the edge there that would work for that.
Mhm. Does anyone else on the commission have any thoughts or questions, concerns on this?
Melissa, this is Jim. I think that's a great thought. Mr. Lapp may know where the boundaries are now, but the new homeowner won't know. So that's a great idea. I appreciate it if you would do that.
Okay.
We can certainly can do that once I find the process to make that happen.
Yeah, Anna and Judy we still have those that they can be purchased or obtained from our office, correct?
We do have them available free of charge through our office, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anna.
So they can help you out with that. Okay. Is this something that I think we can go ahead and close this one out tonight?
Yeah, I would agree.
You would agree?
With that condition.
Okay. So that condition with the PIBs, as well as we're waiving the requirement to add the deed language. Probably doesn't hurt to put that in there. either. Anything else? I think that's it. Could I get a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion.
Through the chair, with signatures.
With signatures by Anne.
I'll amend that motion to include signatures by Anna and or Judy.
Second.
And all in favor, Ed?
I recuse myself.
Okay. Janine?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Ted?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
And I'm also an aye. Thanks for hanging in here with us, Mr. Lapp.
Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And have a happy holidays.
You too. All right. I think we don't have any public forum requests, right?
No, through the chair, I think the only other thing, at least I had on my list, was also from the storm last Wednesday, the Hopkins School Addition project. They notified Judy and myself that they were actively monitoring the site, and there was a small area near the existing detention basin that the water was following the erosion controls and then dipped and found a way underneath a walking path and then came out, and a little bit of sediment did get into the basin. So Judy and I did look at it on Friday. You know, we thanked the applicant for notifying us of the problem, and they have installed some additional erosion controls and will be actively monitoring it to ensure that that doesn't happen again. So we do thank the applicant for self-reporting during that storm.
Oh, that's good. Definitely appreciate that. All right. Anyone have anything else?
Just the motion to adjourn.
All right. Perfect. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor, Ed? Ed? Does the hat flip me?
Who's that?
Okay, Janine?
Aye.
Jim? Ted?
Aye.
That
Oh,
is an aye.
wait.
All right, Matt?
Aye.
And I'm also an aye. So, all right. Thank you all and happy holidays.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Thanks y'all for the
Bye.
gift.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much.
Well, you're welcome.
Aye.
See you next year.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Holidays, Mary.
Listen to you, Jim.
See you next year. Happy New Year.
All right. Bye.
I lost all the pictures.